Where are you, Zuri? My mother. Vivian screamed through the speaker of my phone, her voice echoing off the polished marble walls of the first-class airport lounge. Trent's parents have been sitting in the living room for 20 minutes holding empty crystal glasses. The toddlers are destroying the velvet sofas. Where is the food? I took a slow, deliberate sip of my complimentary mimosa, savoring the chilled champagne and the absolute panic in her voice. I adjusted my designer sunglasses and smiled at my reflection in the lounge window, looking at a woman who had finally chosen herself. "I would advise you not to wait up for me or the catering mother," I said, keeping my tone completely even and perfectly cold. The help took a holiday. I hung up the phone blocking her number and leaned back into the plush leather chair listening to the smooth jazz playing over the lounge speakers. I am Zuri, 35 years old, and today I single-handedly ruined my family's perfectly curated country club Christmas. They thought they could use me as free labor and a basement babysitter. They had no idea they were walking straight into a trap I laid out with meticulous precision. Before I continue this story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments below. Hit like and subscribe if you have ever had to remind your toxic family exactly who they are dealing with and that your boundaries are made of steel. Rewind exactly 1 week before the Christmas disaster. The chaotic symphony of a commercial kitchen during the holiday rush is my absolute favorite sound in the world. It is a language I speak fluently. The searing of prime cuts of Wagyu beef, the rhythmic chopping of my prep cooks, the sharp calls of order up cutting through the heavy steam. I stood at the stainless steel expo counter of my luxury catering company in the heart of Atlanta, Georgia, orchestrating the madness with absolute control. I built this culinary empire from scratch. There were no trust funds, no handouts from rich relatives, just sweat, equity, long nights, and an uncompromising standard for excellence. At 35 years old, I own the building I operate in, and I employ a team of 20 high-end culinary professionals. We cater for corporate galas, celebrity charity events, and high-society weddings across the state. My clients pay a premium because I deliver absolute perfection every single time. I do not have time for nonsense, and my team knows it. "Chef Zuri, we need a signature on the final imported truffle order," my sous chef Malik called out, handing me a heavy clipboard. I signed it without missing a beat, my eyes already scanning the plating of 100 wild-caught salmon entrees, getting ready for a massive corporate holiday party. I demand respect in my kitchen because I earned every ounce of it. I am financially independent, debt-free, and highly successful. I drive a luxury car that I paid for in cash, and my business accounts are thriving. Yet no matter how many glowing reviews I receive in local culinary magazines, or how many zero-balance invoices I collect from Fortune 500 companies, my family still views me as the blue-collar help. To them, I am just the girl who cooks. They do not see the chief executive officer. They do not see the self-made businesswoman who commands a room. They just see hands that should be serving them on a silver platter. The contrast between how the world treats me and how my own blood treats me is a jarring reality I navigate every single day. I wiped down the stainless steel counter, taking pride in the spotless gleam of my kitchen. This is my domain, where logic rules, where hard work is instantly rewarded, and where respect is mutual. It is the exact opposite of the dynamic I share with my mother Vivian and my sister Jada. In my kitchen, my word is law. In their presence, my voice is constantly talked over. My achievements are minimized, and my boundaries are treated like mere suggestions. My phone vibrated violently against the metal prep station, breaking my intense focus. I picked it up to see a text from Vivian. "I need you at Jada's house tonight at 7 sharp. Urgent family meeting, do not be late." There was no greeting. There was no asking if I was busy catering the absolute busiest season of the entire year. Just a cold, peremptory command from a woman who believed my time belonged to her. I felt that familiar tightness lock in my jaw. Jada is my younger sister and the undisputed golden child of our family. She is a former pageant queen who married Trent, a man from an old money-white family, deeply rooted in Buckhead. Trent's family has generational wealth, private country club memberships, and an unshakable belief that they are inherently superior to everyone else in the room. They constantly look down their noses at my career, calling it quaint, or asking me for recipes like I am the hired help at their lavish garden parties. Jada thrives in that elitist environment, desperately trying to mold herself into the perfect high society wife. She runs a failing lifestyle brand that bleeds money every quarter, but she hides it behind designer clothes and perfectly curated social media posts. She lives in a massive 6-bedroom suburban mansion funded entirely by Trent's family trust fund. I texted my mother back, keeping my message brief, asking what the meeting was about, since I was managing 3 different holiday parties that evening. Her reply was instant and dismissive. "Just get here, Zuri. It is about Christmas, and it is important." I sighed heavily, handing my clipboard back to Malik. I gave him the final instructions for the evening and told him to lock up the kitchen when the final delivery truck went out. I packed my chef coat into my canvas duffel bag, washed my hands thoroughly, and walked out to my car. The drive to Jada's pristine gated community took 45 minutes, giving me plenty of time to brace myself for the inevitable hostility. Every time I entered that massive house, I was subjected to subtle microaggressions, backhanded compliments, and heavy demands completely disguised as simple family favors. I navigated through the winding streets of her neighborhood, passing houses that looked like fortresses of wealth and exclusion. I parked my car in her sprawling circular driveway, pulling in right behind Trent's imported sports car. I took a deep breath, gripping the steering wheel. I knew they were cooking up some sort of scheme. They never called an urgent family meeting unless they needed something from me that they did not want to pay for. I just did not know how audacious and utterly disrespectful their demand would be this time. I grabbed my bag, walked up the perfectly manicured brick pathway, and rang the heavy brass doorbell, ready to face whatever toxic trap they were laying out for me tonight. Jada paces her pristine white living room, wearing a silk lounge set that probably cost more than my first culinary school tuition. Vivian sits on the white sofa, sipping sparkling water, looking at me expectantly. I stand near the entryway, not even invited to sit down. Jada shoves a thick leather-bound folder into my hands containing the mood board and menu requests for her Christmas gala. She explains that Trent's parents, the patriarchs of a massive real estate dynasty, are arriving from Connecticut. They hold the purse strings to a massive family trust, and Jada desperately needs this gala to be the social event of the season to convince them to write a massive investment check. I flip through the pages of the folder, seeing requests for seared scallops with caviar-shaved truffles over handmade pasta and an entire raw bar featuring imported oysters. My mind operates like a calculator honed by years of running a profitable business. I look up and tell Jada that 100 guests with this specific menu will require a minimum of $15,000 just for the raw ingredients and my base staff. I tell her I will waive my personal chef fee as a holiday gift, but the hard costs must be covered up front. Vivian slams her glass down on the coffee table, the sharp crack echoing in the cavernous room. She looks at me as if I just asked them to commit a crime. She crosses her arms and tells me not to be ridiculous. She says family does not charge family. Jada chimes in, her voice dripping with that sickeningly sweet tone she uses when she wants something for nothing. She tells me I should be grateful for the opportunity. She claims providing a free 5-star meal for Trent's network will be amazing exposure for my little catering business. I stare at my sister, fighting the urge to laugh. I remind her that my little catering business just cleared $2 million in revenue last year. My current clients include international banks and tech giants. I do not need exposure to her husband's country club friends, who will likely just ask me for my fried chicken recipe. I tell them I run a luxury service, not a charity. The room grows tense. Vivian stands up, pointing a manicured finger at my chest, calling me selfish and ungrateful. She demands I handle the food for free because that is simply my duty as a sister. I need a moment to collect my composure before I say something I cannot take back. I hold up a hand, tell them I am getting a glass of water, and walk into the massive gourmet kitchen. As I fill a glass from the refrigerator dispenser, I hear voices drifting through the cracked sliding glass door leading to the patio. It is Trent, Jada, and Vivian. I freeze, staying hidden out of sight. Trent is complaining loudly about the high cost of the gala preparations. He asks Jada why they are spending so much when his parents are already skeptical of her business acumen. Jada laughs a sharp, dismissive sound. She tells Trent to relax because she already secured the funding. She proudly reveals her grift to him. She explains that she charged his parents $20,000 up front for exclusive catering and elite childcare for the evening. She tells Trent she fully intends to pocket every single dime of his parents' money because she is forcing me to provide all the food and labor for free. My blood runs cold. I stand frozen behind the marble island listening to my own sister brag about scamming her wealthy in-laws and using my sweat and resources to subsidize her fraud. But the disrespect does not end there. Vivian chimes in, agreeing with Jada's brilliant plan. Trent asks what happens if I complain or refuse to mingle with the guests. Vivian scoffs. She tells Trent not to worry about me complaining because I am 35 and alone with nowhere else to be. Then she delivers the final, devastating blow. Vivian assures him that I will not be mingling with anyone. She says keeping me locked in the unfinished basement all night is the best strategy, so my loud, aggressive personality does not embarrass them in front of his refined friends. I set the water glass down silently. I do not burst into tears. I do not storm out to the patio screaming about betrayal. The emotional hurt instantly evaporates, crystallizing into an ice-cold, calculating strategy. I realize in that exact moment that fighting with them is utterly pointless. They will never respect my business, my time, or my humanity. They only see me as a tool to be used and discarded, as the hidden help they can exploit to maintain their high society image. I walk back into the living room just as they return from the patio. Jada smiles at me, acting as if she did not just confess to fraud outside. She crosses her arms and casually mentions there is one more minor detail for the evening. She explains the guest list includes 15 toddlers, and she cannot have noisy children ruining her winter wonderland aesthetic upstairs. She looks me dead in the eye and tells me that since I am single childless and already working the event, my real job that night will be staying in the concrete basement to babysit the unruly toddlers while the adults drink champagne. I look at my mother and my sister standing there in their designer clothes, oblivious to the fact that I know exactly what they are doing. I quietly hand the leather folder back to Jada. I tell her I need to check my inventory and staffing schedules, but I will confirm the final arrangements by tomorrow morning. I turn around and walk out the front door, the heavy oak clicking shut behind me. I walk to my car with perfectly steady steps. I hold the keys to their entire facade. I hold the power to either make this gala happen or let it crash and burn spectacularly. And I am going to let them build their house of cards as high as possible before I pull the bottom out. Over the next few days, I play my part flawlessly in the family group chat. I send fake menu updates detailing the imported cheeses and prime meats I am supposedly sourcing. I pretend to coordinate the babysitting games, asking mundane questions about the toddlers' dietary restrictions and preferred activities. I lay the groundwork, making Vivian and Jada incredibly arrogant, lazy, and completely comfortable in their delusion that they have successfully trapped me. They respond with thumbs-up emojis and short demands, fully believing I am bending to their will. Behind the scenes, I systematically dismantle every single preparation they think I am handling. I officially cancel the massive food order from my suppliers for Jada's house. I reach out to my dedicated kitchen staff and reassign them. I tell my team to enjoy the holiday with their own families, guaranteeing them full holiday pay out of my own pocket as a bonus for their hard work all year. I ensure that absolutely no one from my company will be anywhere near Atlanta on Christmas Day. Then I work my industry contacts. I make a few strategic phone calls, and within hours I book a highly lucrative last-minute private chef gig for a billionaire's winter retreat in Aspen, Colorado. I negotiate a massive premium paycheck for myself, ensuring I will be thousands of miles away getting paid exactly what I am worth, while my family walks straight into the disaster they created. I quietly gather my ammunition. I screenshot the text messages where Jada explicitly sends me the basement babysitting demands. I pull public records of Jada's failing limited liability company to prove her financial desperation. I compile my standard corporate invoicing rates to document the true value of what they tried to steal from me. I organize every piece of evidence into a secure folder on my phone, preparing the exact files I will need for the final showdown. They wanted to treat me like free labor and hide me away like an embarrassment. I am going to ensure their elite guests see exactly who they are. I look down at the thick, ivory-colored folder Jada has just pressed against my chest. I open it slowly. Inside the pages are filled with glossy magazine cutouts and a typed menu that reads like a royal banquet. She is not asking for a simple holiday dinner. She has listed hand-dived sea scallops with beluga caviar, a live-action Wagyu beef carving station, imported winter truffles shaved over handmade risotto, and a custom dessert bar requiring a dedicated pastry chef. I read the list a second time just to make sure my eyes are not deceiving me. I run a luxury catering business, so I know exactly what these ingredients cost. I know the exact number of prep cooks, line cooks, and servers required to pull off a flawless service for 100 elite guests. I close the folder and look at my sister. Jada is pacing her pristine living room, adjusting the sleeve of her silk lounge set. I keep my voice completely level. Jada, to execute this menu for 100 people, you need a specialized crew. You are looking at a bare minimum of $15,000 just for the raw ingredients and my base staff. I will waive my executive chef fee as my Christmas gift to you, but I need a wire transfer for the hard costs by tomorrow morning so I can secure the truffles and the Wagyu. The sharp crack of crystal hitting glass echoes through the room. Vivian slams her sparkling water down on the coffee table so hard the liquid spills over the rim. She stares at me as if I just demanded she hand over the deed to the house. A wire transfer, Vivian asks, her voice dripping with absolute disgust. Are you out of your mind, Zuri? Family does not charge family. I stand my ground, planting my feet firmly on their expensive imported rug. I tell her that my fishmonger does not accept family loyalty as a form of payment. I remind them that my staff members have rent to pay and children to feed. I cannot look my sous chef in the eye and tell him he is working a high-stress holiday event for free because my sister wants to impress her wealthy in-laws. Vivian stands up and crosses her arms, glaring at me with that familiar look of profound disappointment she has weaponized since I was a teenager. It is just cooking, Zuri, she snaps, stepping closer. You chop some vegetables, you throw some meat in a pan, and you put it on a fancy plate. Do not stand in this house and act like you are performing open-heart surgery. You are a cook. We are asking you to cook for your family. Jada stops pacing and chimes in, rushing to back up our mother. Her tone shifts to that sickeningly sweet pitch she uses when she is trying to manipulate someone. Zuri, you are looking at this all wrong. You should be grateful we are even giving you this opportunity. Trent's parents are flying in from Connecticut. They hold the purse strings to the family trust, and their friends are the wealthiest old money families in Buckhead. If you do this for us, they will tell everyone they know. It is incredible exposure for your little catering business. My little catering business. The sheer audacity of the phrase makes my blood run hot. I look directly into Jada's eyes. I tell her that my little catering business cleared over $2 million in revenue last year. I remind her that my current client roster includes international banks, top-tier law firms, and major tech giants who book my team 6 months in advance. I do not need exposure to her husband's country club friends. People who want free luxury food do not become paying clients. They just become people who expect more free things. Vivian scoffs, waving her hand through the air to physically dismiss my accomplishments. Oh, please, she says, rolling her eyes. You cater corporate lunches. This is a high society gala. You should be honored that Trent's family is willing to eat your food. You have always been so selfish, Zuri. Always hoarding your pennies, always obsessing over your business instead of caring about your family. This is exactly why you are 35 and sitting alone in an empty apartment every night. You are too hard. You are too aggressive. You lack the grace to understand how things work in polite society. The personal attacks hit exactly where they are meant to, but I refuse to give them the satisfaction of seeing me flinch. They always do this. Whenever I introduce boundaries or logic, they immediately pivot to attacking my character, my relationship status, and my femininity. They weaponize my independence, framing my success as a character flaw simply because I refuse to be their doormat. I take a slow, deep breath, locking eyes with my mother. Loyalty goes both ways, I say, my voice dropping an octave. You are asking me to take a $15,000 loss so Jada can play pretend for her in-laws. If this gala is so crucial to securing an investment for Jada's lifestyle brand, then Trent needs to open his wallet and pay for the services required to impress his parents. They want a Michelin star experience on a soup kitchen budget, and I am not subsidizing it. Jada lets out a dramatic gasp, placing a hand over her chest, as if I just physically struck her. How can you be so vicious, she cries out. Trent and I are under an immense amount of pressure right now. My business needs this capital injection to launch the spring collection. We are family. We are supposed to uplift each other. You have all that money sitting in your business accounts, and you are going to let your own sister fail over a few $1,000s worth of groceries. A few $1,000s, I repeat, shaking my head. Jada, you are asking for imported truffles and Wagyu beef. That is not groceries, that is a luxury experience. Vivian steps right up to me, invading my personal space. Her eyes are cold and furious. You will do this event, Zuri, she commands, dropping any pretense of a request. You will source the food, you will bring your staff, and you will serve Trent's family an unforgettable meal. You owe this family. We did not raise you to be a greedy, ungrateful woman who turns her back on her own blood. You will do exactly as you are told, because without this family, you are nothing but a glorified kitchen worker. They double down on the disrespect, staring at me with absolute entitlement. They genuinely believe they own my time, my skills, and my resources. They think they can bully me into submission by attacking my worth. They expect me to fold, to apologize for being difficult, and to obediently march into the kitchen to serve their whims. I look back and forth between the two women who are supposed to be my support system, realizing that no amount of logic will ever penetrate their delusion. I stand in the suffocating silence of Jada's living room, letting Vivian's final command hang in the air. Before I can formulate a response that will not end with me walking out and never looking back, Jada claps her hands together. The sharp sound shatters the tension as she seamlessly transitions back into her role as the bubbly gala host. She smiles at me, completely unfazed by the toxic verbal assault our mother just delivered. She tells me that since we have the food budget settled, there is one more minor logistical detail we need to iron out before I leave. I brace myself, feeling the muscles in my back tighten. With this family, the phrase minor logistical detail is always a trapdoor to a fresh nightmare. Jada walks over to her marble console table and picks up a secondary clipboard. She flips the page and casually informs me that several of Trent's most important investors are flying in with their young families. The final headcount includes 15 toddlers, all under the age of 5. I nod slowly, calculating the extra prep required for a high-end children's menu. I start to suggest a separate kid-friendly buffet station, perhaps some elevated macaroni and cheese, or miniature Wagyu sliders. Jada waves her hand, cutting me off mid-sentence. She tells me I am completely misunderstanding her vision. She cannot have 15 screaming toddlers running around her pristine winter wonderland aesthetic. She says the main floor is strictly adults only for networking and champagne. The children must be kept entirely out of sight so they do not ruin the sophisticated vibe she is trying to project to her wealthy in-laws. I ask her who she hired for childcare. I know several elite nanny services in Atlanta that handle large-scale corporate events. Jada looks at me blankly. Then she exchanges a knowing glance with Vivian. Vivian sighs and takes a sip of her sparkling water, looking at me like I am the slowest student in the class. Vivian tells me they did not hire a nanny service because they already have me. The room spins for a fraction of a second. I stare at my sister, waiting for the punchline, but her perfectly contoured face is entirely serious. I ask her to clarify exactly what she means. Jada sighs, adopting a patronizing tone. She explains that since I am already going to be at the house working the event, it makes perfect financial sense for me to watch the children. She casually points a manicured finger toward the hallway door that leads down to her unfinished basement. She tells me she has set up some playmats and an old television down on the bare concrete floor. My job for the evening will be to serve the 5-star meal upstairs, and then immediately report to the basement to babysit 15 toddlers for the remainder of the night. I am absolutely speechless. I ask her how exactly I am supposed to manage a live-action Wagyu carving station plate, 100 delicate seafood appetizers, and babysit 15 toddlers in a concrete basement simultaneously. Vivian chimes in, completely dismissing the physical impossibility of the task. She tells me I am smart and I can figure it out. She suggests I just throw some frozen chicken nuggets in the oven for the kids before the important guests arrive. Then she drops the ultimate insult. She tells me that being in the basement is actually the best place for me anyway. She says I will not be allowed to mingle with the guests upstairs because I do not fit the demographic of the evening. Vivian looks me up and down, her eyes raking over my tailored chef's jacket and practical work shoes. She tells me I am 35, single and childless. I do not have a wealthy husband to boast about. I do not have a country club pedigree. Vivian says my loud, aggressive business persona will only make Trent's refined friends uncomfortable. She tells me it is better for everyone if I stay out of sight once the food is served. I am expected to cook a Michelin-quality meal entirely for free and then hide in the damp, unfinished basement like a dirty secret. Jada nods in agreement, reinforcing our mother's cruelty. She tells me I should be happy to help out with the kids, since I do not have any of my own. She says it will give me a taste of real responsibility. She honestly believes that running a multi-million-dollar company, managing 20 employees, and balancing massive corporate budgets is not a real responsibility compared to her life of spending her husband's trust fund. She views my lack of a wedding ring as a character flaw that automatically demotes me to the status of household servant. The audacity is breathtaking. They are not just demanding my money and my professional labor, they are demanding my total humiliation. They want to strip away my title, my success, and my dignity so they can present a flawless facade to a room full of strangers. They want me sweating over a hot stove and then banished to a cold concrete floor while they clink crystal glasses and take credit for my hard work. I am not a sister to them. I am not even a guest. I am the free help they can exploit and lock away whenever my presence threatens their fragile high society illusion. I look at the two women standing before me. I see the smug satisfaction radiating from their pores. They think they have me cornered. They think the weight of familial obligation will crush my spine and force me to bow my head. I feel a sharp, burning sensation building in my chest, but I refuse to let it reach my eyes. I will not give them the satisfaction of my tears. I will not raise my voice and give them the angry black woman narrative they are so desperately trying to provoke. Instead, I swallow the bile rising in my throat. I force my facial muscles to relax into a smooth, unbothered mask. I tell Jada I need a glass of water to process the logistics of her request. Before she can say another word, I turn my back on them and walk straight into the massive gourmet kitchen. I need a moment of isolation to gather my thoughts before I say something that will permanently sever my ties to this family. I walk over to the stainless steel refrigerator and press a glass against the water dispenser. The cold water fills the glass, but my hands are gripping the counter so hard my knuckles are turning white. I stare out the kitchen window, trying to regain my breath. That is when I hear the heavy slide of the patio door. The heavy slide of this patio door echoes, slightly followed by the unmistakable sound of Trent's voice. He sounds agitated, his words sharp and clipped. I freeze, keeping my back pressed flat against the wall just out of sight. Trent is pacing on the stone patio. I can hear his expensive leather shoes scuffing against the pavement. He asks Jada why they are spending so much energy appeasing my ridiculous ego. He tells her his parents are already scrutinizing their finances, and he does not understand why Jada promised them a Michelin-level culinary experience if they cannot afford to write the check for it. He sounds genuinely panicked about his family discovering the massive hole in Jada's business accounts. Then I hear Jada laugh. It is a light, airy sound, completely devoid of anxiety. She tells Trent he needs to relax and stop acting so dramatic. She says she already secured the funding to save her lifestyle brand, and it did not cost them a single penny. Trent stops pacing and asks her what she means. Jada practically purrs as she reveals her brilliant grift. She tells her husband that she spoke with his father yesterday morning. She informed her wealthy father-in-law that she had secured Atlanta's most exclusive luxury caterer and a high-end boutique child development agency to manage the gala. She says his father was so impressed by her initiative that he immediately wired $20,000 directly into her business account to cover the premium services. Trent is stunned into silence for a moment before he asks how she plans to pay those premium services. Jada laughs again, louder this time. She tells him she fully intends to pocket every single dime of his parents' money. She explains that she is forcing me to provide all the five-star food, the elite service, and the childcare for absolutely free under the guise of family duty. She brags about using my sweat and my business resources to completely subsidize her fraud. She plans to take the $20,000 and quietly plug the massive deficit in her failing company, pretending the money went to me. My blood runs completely cold. I stand frozen behind the marble island, listening to my own sister brag about scamming her wealthy in-laws while actively plotting to rob me of my labor. I have dealt with their entitlement for years, but this is an entirely new level of calculated theft. But the disrespect does not end there. Trent does not sound relieved by his wife's criminal ingenuity. Instead, he sounds nervous. He asks Jada what happens if I figure it out. He asks what happens if I refuse to stay downstairs or decide to walk into the main dining room and demand credit for the food directly in front of his mother. He says his family values pedigree and social standing above all else, and introducing a blue-collar caterer as his sister-in-law will ruin the sophisticated image they have spent months curating. That is when Vivian chimes in. My mother has been sitting out there with them the entire time. Her voice drifts through the cracked glass door, dripping with casual venom. She tells Trent he does not need to worry about me complaining or causing a scene. Vivian tells her son-in-law that I am 35 and completely alone. She says I have no husband, no children, and nowhere else to be on Christmas. She assures him that keeping me locked down in the unfinished basement all night is the absolute best strategy to protect their reputation. You know how she is, Trent? My mother says, her tone thick with disgust. She is far too loud, too aggressive, and entirely too rough around the edges. She lacks the grace and refinement necessary to interact with your country club friends. Hiding her away in the basement ensures she does exactly what she is useful for, without her embarrassing us in front of the Buckhead elite. I do not gasp. I do not drop the glass. The water stops dispensing from the refrigerator, and I silently pull my hand back. I do not burst into tears or storm out onto the patio screaming about betrayal. I do not kick the glass door open and demand my $20,000. That would be the reaction they expect. That would give them the angry black woman narrative they are so desperately trying to pin on me. It would allow them to call me unstable and justify their cruelty. Instead, the emotional hurt instantly evaporates. It burns off completely, leaving behind an ice-cold, calculating clarity. I set the water glass down silently on the granite counter. I look around this massive, beautiful kitchen that was paid for by the very trust fund they are currently embezzling from. I realize in that exact moment that fighting with them is utterly pointless. Explaining my worth to people who are committed to misunderstanding me is a waste of my breath. They will never respect my business, my time, or my humanity. They only see me as a tool to be used and discarded as the hidden help they can exploit to maintain their high society illusion. I turn around and walk back through the pristine white living room. I do not leave a note. I do not say goodbye. I walk straight out the heavy front door, pulling it shut with a quiet click. The crisp evening air hits my face as I march down the brick pathway to my car. My stride is perfectly steady. My hands do not shake as I unlock my door and slide into the driver's seat. I grip the steering wheel and look back at the sprawling suburban mansion. They think they have me trapped. They think the weight of familial obligation will crush my spine and force me to serve them in the dark while they steal $20,000 in my name. They have no idea that I hold the keys to their entire facade. I hold the power to either make this gala happen or let it crash and burn in the most spectacular public fashion imaginable. I start the engine and pull out of the driveway, leaving Trent's sports car in the rearview mirror. I am not going to argue. I am not going to negotiate. I am going to agree to every single one of their demands. I am going to let them build their house of cards as high as possible. I am going to let them invite every wealthy investor, every judgmental country club socialite, and every member of Trent's elitist family. I will let them set the stage for the most important night of their lives before I pull the bottom out and let the entire structure collapse right on top of them. Over the next few days, I play my part flawlessly. I transform into the perfectly obedient sister they believe they have broken. I engage actively in the family group chat, responding to their ridiculous demands with absolute compliance. Jada sends me a frantic text demanding to know if I can source white truffles instead of black truffles, because Trent's mother prefers them. I reply with a thumbs up emoji and tell her I have already contacted my supplier in Italy. I send fake menu updates detailing the imported cheeses the prime Wagyu cuts and the extensive raw bar I am supposedly prepping for their guests. I even pretend to coordinate the basement babysitting scheme. I ask Jada mundane questions about the toddler's dietary restrictions and preferred activities. I send Vivian a message asking if I should bring my own portable folding table for the basement so I do not take up any space on the main floor. They eat it up. They respond with short, dismissive commands, fully believing I am bending to their will. I lay the groundwork perfectly, making Vivian and Jada incredibly arrogant, lazy, and completely comfortable in their delusion. Behind the scenes, I systematically dismantle every single preparation they think I am handling. I sit in my private office overlooking my bustling commercial kitchen, and I officially cancel the massive food order from my suppliers for Jada's house. I pull up my staffing schedule and reach out to my dedicated kitchen crew. I tell my sous chef, my prep cooks, and my serving staff to take Christmas Day entirely off. I tell them to stay home and enjoy the holiday with their own families. I guarantee them full holiday pay out of my own pocket as a bonus for their relentless hard work all year long. I ensure that absolutely no one from my company will be anywhere near Atlanta when the 25th of December arrives. Then I open my laptop and work my industry contacts. I am not going to sit at home on Christmas while my family faces the consequences of their actions. I make 3 strategic phone calls to elite event coordinators I have partnered with in the past. Within 2 hours, I book a highly lucrative last-minute private chef gig for a billionaire's winter retreat in Aspen, Colorado. The client is desperate for a Michelin-caliber chef, and I negotiate a massive premium paycheck for myself, requiring full payment up front. I secure my first-class flight and my luxury accommodations, ensuring I will be thousands of miles away, getting paid exactly what I am worth. I quietly gather my ammunition. I screenshot the text messages where Jada explicitly sends me the basement babysitting demands. I pull public business records showing the devastating financial deficits of Jada's limited liability company, proving her desperation to steal from her in-laws. I compile my standard corporate invoicing rates, generating an itemized bill for $20,000 to document the true value of the services they tried to extort from me. I organize every piece of evidence, every text message, and every financial record into a secure folder on my phone. They wanted to treat me like free labor and hide me away like an embarrassment. I am going to ensure their elite guests see exactly who they really are. The morning of December 24th arrives with a crisp chill in the Atlanta air. I wake up in my own king-sized bed, feeling a profound sense of peace that I have not experienced in years. There is no frantic rushing to prep massive quantities of food for ungrateful relatives. There is no anxiety gnawing at my stomach about whether my mother will criticize the seasoning on the roast, or if my sister will complain about the presentation of the appetizers. Today, I am operating entirely on my own terms. I get out of bed, make myself a cup of premium dark roast coffee, and begin packing my bags. I place my custom-forged Japanese steel chef knives into their protective leather roll. I pack my tailored chef coats alongside my heavy winter designer gear. I am trading the damp concrete floor of Jada's unfinished basement for the snow-capped mountains of Colorado. My phone vibrates against the granite countertop of my kitchen island. The screen lights up with a new message in the family group chat. I take a slow sip of my coffee before unlocking the screen. It is a message from Vivian delivering her final list of degrading demands for tomorrow. The audacity of her words practically radiates through the digital text. Make sure you use the side servant entrance tomorrow, Vivian commands. The front door is strictly for Trent's family and the VIP guests. We do not want you tracking kitchen grease through the main foyer. Bring your own folding chair for the basement because we are not risking you getting the good furniture dirty down there. And do not eat any of the Wagyu beef or the caviar. That is for the paying guests only. You can make yourself a sandwich from whatever the toddlers leave behind. A few seconds later, Jada chimes in, adding her own layer of entitlement. Zuri, make sure you arrive by 1 in the afternoon. I need you to bleach the basement floor before the kids arrive so it smells clean. Also remember, you are completely responsible for keeping them quiet. If I hear one single child crying upstairs while I am trying to secure this investment, you will ruin everything. Do not mess this up for me. I read the messages twice. The sheer, unadulterated disrespect is breathtaking. They truly view me as a pack mule, a nameless, faceless servant existing solely to absorb their labor and hide in the shadows so they can shine. They are actively stealing $20,000 from Trent's parents using my business reputation as collateral, and they still have the nerve to tell me to bring my own folding chair and eat leftover chicken nuggets. I do not type out an angry paragraph. I do not call them to scream about their blatant fraud. I type a single chilling sentence that serves as my final communication before the trap completely closes. Everything will be exactly what you paid for. I hit send. Within seconds, Vivian and Jada both heart-react the message. Their absolute delusion blinds them to the double meaning of my words. They think they have broken my spirit. They think I am obediently submitting to my role as the family scapegoat. I lock my phone, toss it into my designer handbag, and walk out of my house. The drive to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is smooth and entirely stress-free. I bypass the chaotic holiday crowds in the main terminal and head straight for the VIP first-class lounge. The attendant scans my boarding pass, greets me by name, and ushers me into a quiet, luxurious sanctuary away from the noise. I settle into a plush leather armchair by the window, watching the planes taxi across the tarmac. I order a chilled mimosa and toast silently to my own freedom. The heavy chains of familial obligation that have dragged me down for 35 years have finally been severed. I am no longer playing their twisted game. Boarding my flight to Aspen feels like stepping through a portal into a completely different reality. I settle into my spacious first-class pod, accepting a warm towel and a glass of sparkling water from the flight attendant. As the plane lifts off the runway, leaving Atlanta far below, I look down at the sprawling suburban neighborhoods. Somewhere down there, Jada is frantically directing a cleaning crew to polish her chandeliers, oblivious to the fact that her kitchen is completely empty. Somewhere down there, Vivian is bragging to her friends about the elite catering she secured, completely unaware that she is walking straight into a social massacre. The flight is a seamless transition from the humid southern winter to the crisp, frozen beauty of the Rocky Mountains. When we land in Aspen, the snow is falling in thick, heavy flakes, blanketing the runway in pure white. I step off the plane and breathe in the sharp, freezing air. There is no struggling to find a ride or begging a toxic family member to pick me up. A sleek black luxury sport utility vehicle is waiting for me on the tarmac. A professional driver in a tailored dark suit steps forward and opens the door, holding an umbrella to shield me from the snow. "Welcome to Aspen, Chef Zuri," he says respectfully, loading my luggage and my knife roll into the trunk. "Mr. Sterling is eagerly anticipating your arrival at the estate." The Sterling estate makes Jada's suburban mansion look like a plastic dollhouse. We drive through a highly secured iron gate winding up a private mountain road, lined with towering pine trees. The property is a sprawling masterpiece of glass, timber, and stone, perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the valley. As the vehicle pulls into the heated driveway, the massive front doors open. Mr. Sterling, a billionaire tech mogul who built his fortune in sustainable energy, steps out to greet me personally. He is not looking down his nose at me. He is not treating me like the hired help. He extends a warm, welcoming hand. "Chef Zuri, it is an absolute honor to have you here," he says, shaking my hand firmly. "We have been following your culinary career in Atlanta for years. When my event coordinator told me you were available for a last-minute booking, I told her to secure your contract at any price. My entire family is incredibly excited for the menu you proposed." "Thank you, Mr. Sterling," I reply, matching his professional warmth. "It is a pleasure to be here. I promise you an unforgettable holiday experience." He personally escorts me inside, bypassing the servant entrances entirely. He walks me straight into the heart of his home, treating me as an esteemed guest and a master of my craft. He leads me to the estate's main kitchen and my breath catches in my throat. It is a culinary dream. Custom commercial grade ranges massive marble prep islands built in sous vide stations and a walk-in refrigerator stocked with every premium ingredient I requested. A team of 4 highly trained local prep cooks stands at attention waiting for my direction. They address me with absolute respect, ready to execute my vision. For the next several hours, I immerse myself in the pure joy of my profession. There is no gaslighting, no manipulation, no degrading comments about my marital status. There is only the rhythm of the kitchen, the precise execution of complex flavor profiles, and the satisfaction of leading a competent team. We prepare a stunning Christmas Eve dinner featuring herb-crusted rack of lamb, wild, caught Alaskan halibut, and a decadent dark chocolate ganache tart. When the food is served in the massive formal dining room overlooking the snow-covered mountains, the reaction is instantaneous. Mr. Sterling and his extended family applaud the presentation. They savor every bite, complimenting my technique and praising the sophisticated balance of the menu. They invite me into the dining room to personally thank me, raising their glasses to toast my expertise. The contrast between this room full of billionaires treating me with profound reverence and my own mother telling me to eat scraps in a concrete basement is staggering. It reinforces every decision I have made. I am a highly successful executive chef. I am a master of my industry. I will never allow anyone to diminish my light again, especially not the people who share my blood. After the kitchen is spotlessly cleaned and the staff is dismissed for the night, I am escorted to my private accommodations. I am not relegated to a cramped servant quarter. I am given a luxury guest suite with panoramic mountain views, a roaring stone fireplace, and high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. I run a hot bath, soaking in the deep soaking tub, letting the tension of the past week melt entirely out of my muscles. I step out of the bath, wrap myself in a thick plush robe, and pour a glass of the vintage wine Mr. Sterling gifted me. I walk over to the window, watching the snow fall silently over the valley. I pick up my phone and turn off the Do Not Disturb mode. The screen lights up with a single final text message from Jada sent an hour ago. Do not be late tomorrow, Zuri. Trent's parents are arriving right at 4 o'clock. Have the appetizers ready and get down to the basement before they walk in. I am not joking about this. I stare at the message, the sheer arrogant entitlement oozing from every word. I do not reply. I do not need to. The board is set. The pieces are perfectly aligned. They have dug their own grave, lined it with their own lies, and handed me the shovel. I plug my phone into the charger, set it on the nightstand, and climb into the massive, comfortable bed. I pull the heavy duvet over my shoulders and close my eyes. I fall asleep instantly, resting peacefully in the absolute certainty that tomorrow is going to be the most devastating Christmas my family has ever experienced. The sun rises over the snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains, casting a brilliant golden light through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Sterling estate. I am in the commercial kitchen by 6 in the morning, operating with the kind of smooth, effortless rhythm that only comes from years of absolute dedication to my craft. I prepare a Christmas brunch that defies expectations. Butter poached lobster eggs Benedict on house-made brioche, a Wagyu beef root vegetable hash, and a stunning winter citrus tart. The Sterling family gathers in their massive dining room, and the atmosphere is filled with genuine warmth and profound appreciation. Mr. Sterling personally comes into the kitchen after the meal, handing me a thick envelope containing a holiday bonus that rivals the entire fraudulent budget my sister tried to steal from me. He thanks me for saving their family holiday and tells me my talent is unmatched. I thank him graciously, pack up my pristine chef knives, and officially clock out. My professional obligations are fulfilled by 3 in the afternoon Mountain Time. That makes it exactly 5 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time. I head to my luxury guest suite and change into an emerald green swimsuit. I pour myself a generous glass of Veuve Clicquot wrap, a heavy plush towel around my shoulders, and step out onto the private heated terrace. The freezing mountain air bites at my skin for just a second before I slip into the steaming water of the outdoor infinity pool. The contrast is spectacular. I rest my arms on the stone ledge, looking out over the breathtaking valley below. I set my phone on a dry towel right next to my champagne glass, and I wait. I do not have to wait long. At 5:15, the screen of my phone lights up like a beacon. The notifications begin pouring in with the speed and intensity of a collapsing dam. 5 missed calls from Jada, 8 missed calls from Vivian. A barrage of text messages displaying rapid-fire panic. Where are you? The guests are arriving. The front gate guard says no catering trucks have checked in. Trent's parents are in the driveway. Answer your phone immediately. I take a slow sip of my champagne, feeling the crisp bubbles burst against my tongue. I visualize the absolute devastation currently unfolding inside that sprawling suburban Buckhead mansion. I picture the 100 VIP guests arriving in their tailored holiday finest, expecting a Michelin star culinary experience. I picture Trent's old money Connecticut parents walking through the front doors, ready to judge every single detail of their daughter's in-law home. And then I picture the stark, horrifying reality they are walking into. The massive kitchen is completely dark and empty. The rented silver chafing dishes are stone cold. There is no staff walking around with trays of champagne. Worse, there is no one in the unfinished basement, which means the 15 toddlers belonging to the wealthy investors are running completely wild through Jada's pristine white living room, smearing sticky hands on her custom velvet sofas and shattering her curated winter wonderland aesthetic. The phone stops buzzing with texts and immediately begins ringing with an incoming FaceTime call. The caller ID flashes Vivian's name. I let it ring 3 times, allowing her anxiety to reach a boiling point before I calmly swipe the screen to accept the call. Vivian's face fills my screen, and the sheer panic radiating from her features is a masterpiece. Her usually flawless hair is slightly disheveled, and a thin sheen of sweat coats her forehead, ruining her expensive makeup. Behind her, I can see the absolute chaos of Jada's living room. A toddler is actively crying in the background, and a woman who looks suspiciously like Trent's elitist mother is standing near the fireplace with her arms crossed, wearing an expression of pure, unadulterated disgust. "Zuri, where are you?" Vivian screams, her voice shrill and echoing over the phone speaker. "The guests are here. There is no food. The kitchen is empty. Where is your staff? We have people asking for appetizers, and Jada is locked in the powder room having a panic attack." I lean back into the steaming water of the hot tub, making sure the snow-covered Rocky Mountains are perfectly framed in the background of my video feed. I offer her a bright, polite smile. "Merry Christmas, Mother." I say, my voice completely relaxed and utterly void of sympathy. I am in Aspen, Colorado. I took a last-minute private chef gig for a client who actually respects my business. The mountain view from this hot tub is really quite spectacular. Vivian stares at the screen, her brain short-circuiting as she tries to process the visual evidence of my luxury vacation. "Aspen." She sputters, her voice cracking. "What are you talking about? You are supposed to be here. You are supposed to be cooking the wagyu and the truffles. You are supposed to be in the basement watching these screaming kids." I shake my head slightly, maintaining my calm professional demeanor. "Vivian, I run a premier luxury catering company. I only provide premium services to paying clients. Since the invoice for your event was exactly $0, your delivery for the evening is exactly 0. I strongly suggest you start ordering pizzas, because getting 100 people fed on Christmas Day in Atlanta is going to be a logistical nightmare. You cannot do this to us." Vivian shrieks, her panic transforming into desperate rage. "You are ruining our family. You are humiliating us in front of Trent's parents. We are your blood." Before I can respond, the phone is violently snatched out of Vivian's hand. The camera shakes dizzily before focusing on Trent's furious red face. The veins in his neck are bulging, and he looks like a man on the verge of a cardiac event. "Zuri, what the hell is going on here, Trent?" demands, his voice booming with the authoritative tone of a man who is used to getting exactly what he wants. "My parents flew in from Connecticut for a luxury gala. We paid $20,000 for elite catering and childcare. You are intentionally sabotaging my professional network and humiliating my family. Get your staff here right now, or I swear to God I will sue your business into the ground for breach of contract. I do not blink. I look straight into the camera, meeting his furious gaze with absolute ice. You cannot sue me for breach of contract, Trent, because I never signed one. I say my words sharp and precise. And more importantly, I never saw a single dime of that $20,000. Trent freezes, his angry expression faltering into sudden confusion. What are you talking about? He demands. Jada wired the money to your business account 3 days ago. My father authorized the transfer himself. No, Trent, she did not. I reply, leaning forward slightly. Your wife and my mother pocketed your parents' money. Jada intended to use that $20,000 to quietly plug the massive deficit in her failing lifestyle brand. Their grand plan was to extort me into providing all the food, the premium service, and the childcare completely for free by calling it my family duty. They intended to lock me in your unfinished basement all night so your country club friends would not have to interact with the blue-collar help. That is a lie, Vivian screams from somewhere off camera. Trent, do not listen to her, she is just bitter and jealous. I do not argue. I simply tap the screen of my phone, minimizing the FaceTime window and opening my secure folder. I select the comprehensive email I drafted the night before. The email contains the screenshots of Jada explicitly detailing her basement babysitting demands. It contains Vivian's text message telling me to use the servant entrance and bring a folding chair. Most importantly, it contains the audio transcript and summary of the conversation I overheard on the patio where Jada bragged to Trent about securing the funds while planning to exploit me. I hit send, directing the email simultaneously to Trent's personal inbox and directly to the email addresses of his wealthy parents. I maximize the FaceTime window again. Check your email, Trent, I say softly. Check it right now and tell me who the liars are. I watch through the screen as Trent pulls the phone away from his face to check his notifications. I watch his eyes dart back and forth as he opens the email and reads the undeniable documented proof of his wife's massive financial fraud. I watch the angry red color drain completely out of his face, leaving him pale and horrified. He looks up from the screen, staring at Vivian, who has just realized that her entire world is collapsing. You stole from my parents! Trent? Whispers, his voice trembling with a mixture of shock and profound betrayal. You stole from my family. I pick up my glass of champagne. I will leave you to handle your family business, Trent. I say, my voice echoing with finality. Good luck with the pizzas. I tap the red button, ending the call and cutting off the feed to Atlanta. I block Trent's number. I block Vivian's number. I block Jada's number. I set the phone face down on the stone ledge and take a long, slow sip of my champagne. The freezing mountain air feels incredible against my skin, and the silence of the Rockies is the most beautiful sound I have ever heard. The house of cards has officially fallen, and I am not sticking around to sweep up the mess. The morning after I walk out of Jada's house, I step into my private office, overlooking my commercial kitchen. The stainless steel surfaces below are gleaming, and my prep cooks are already moving with military precision. I sit at my desk, open my laptop, and pull up the family group chat on my phone. The emotional sting of their betrayal is completely gone, replaced by a cold, surgical focus. If they want to play a game of deception and exploitation, I am going to show them exactly how a professional operates. I type out my first message, setting the trap with absolute compliance. I tell them I have reviewed the menu requests for the gala and that I can make it work. I promise to send over the finalized tasting notes by noon. Jada replies within 30 seconds. Her response is swift and characteristically demanding. She tells me it is about time I agreed, and explicitly instructs me to make sure the caviar is beluga, not the cheap alternative she assumes I use for standard corporate lunches. She reminds me that Trent's parents have a highly refined palate and will notice if I cut corners. I do not bristle at the insult. I do not point out that my corporate clients pay hundreds of thousands of dollars for premium ingredients. I simply reply with a thumbs-up emoji and tell her that I will secure only the best for Trent's family. I spend the next hour drafting the most elaborate, mouth-watering, completely fictional menu imaginable. I list pan-seared sea scallops with a saffron beurre blanc and microgreens. I include hand-rolled butternut squash agnolotti with freshly shaved white winter truffles. I detail a live-action A5 Wagyu beef carving station, accompanied by a cherry wine reduction and roasted heirloom vegetables. I design a custom dessert bar featuring spun sugar sculptures and gold leaf chocolate torts. I make it sound like a Michelin-starred culinary dream. I export the document as a pristine PDF with my company logo and drop it into the group chat. Vivian chimes in 5 minutes later. She tells me the menu looks acceptable but warns me to ensure my presentation is elegant. She says Trent's mother notices everything and explicitly forbids me from using my standard bulky black catering trays. She demands I use polished silver chafing dishes and crystal serving platters. I type back immediately. I assure her the silver chafing dishes are already reserved and promise the presentation will be absolutely flawless. Next, I pivot to the basement babysitting scheme. This is where I need them to dig their hole as deep as possible. I need them to put their audacity in writing. I send another message asking about the 15 toddlers I am supposed to watch. I ask if any of the children have peanut or gluten allergies because I want to prep some kid-friendly snacks and organize some holiday games to keep them entertained. Jada takes the bait effortlessly. She tells me not to overcomplicate things. She says I should just throw some frozen dinosaur chicken nuggets and apple juice boxes on a paper plate. Her main priority is that I keep them absolutely quiet. She tells me she bought a cheap DVD player and some discount coloring books to put down on the concrete floor. Then she types the most crucial sentence. Do not let them come upstairs under any circumstances, Zuri. I am securing a massive financial investment tonight, and I cannot have screaming kids ruining my aesthetic. Vivian adds her own layer of entitlement right below Jada's message. She tells me to make sure I dress appropriately. She says since I will be down in the unfinished basement all night, I do not need to wear my professional executive chef coat. She instructs me to wear a plain black shirt and slacks, so I look like standard utility help. She says they do not want me looking out of place or trying to draw attention to myself if I have to quickly run up the back stairs to refill the buffet trays. The sheer audacity is breathtaking, but I feed directly into it. I type back that I completely understand. I confirm I will wear a plain black shirt and slacks. I promise to keep the children entirely hidden and entertained in the basement so they can focus exclusively on impressing the investors. Over the next 3 days, my phone buzzes constantly with their increasingly ridiculous demands. Jada texts me at midnight to make sure the ice cubes for the cocktail bar are perfectly clear and not cloudy. Vivian reminds me that I must arrive at the back service entrance so my catering van does not clog up the main circular driveway where the luxury cars will be parking. I agree to absolutely everything. Yes, Mother. Of course, Jada. I will handle it. I watch their tones shift from demanding to incredibly arrogant and lazy. Because I am playing the role of the compliant, broken sister so perfectly, they completely drop their guard. They stop worrying about the gala preparations entirely. They do not double-check logistics. They do not ask for vendor contracts. They are completely comfortable in their delusion that they have trapped me into subsidizing their $20,000 fraud. They truly believe I am bending over backward to serve them while they pocket the money. While I am playing the obedient servant in the digital world of the group chat, my actual business operations are moving in the exact opposite direction. I pick up my office phone and call my primary wholesale suppliers. I systematically cancel the massive order for the Wagyu beef, the winter truffles, and the imported caviar. My supplier asks if I'm sure considering the intense holiday rush. I confirm the cancellation immediately, saving myself thousands of dollars in hard costs that Jada fully intended to steal from me. Next, I open my digital staffing schedule. I have 20 culinary professionals who have been working themselves to the bone all year, executing flawless holiday parties across Atlanta. I call my sous chef Malik into my office. I tell him the massive Buckhead Gala is officially off the books. I tell him and the entire kitchen crew that they are getting Christmas Day entirely off. I guarantee them full holiday pay out of my own pocket as an end-of-year bonus for their relentless dedication to my company. Malik is stunned but thrilled. I ensure that absolutely no one from my catering staff will be anywhere near Jada's suburban mansion on the 25th of December. By Wednesday evening, the illusion is perfectly solid. In the minds of Vivian and Jada, a five-star luxury feast is being meticulously prepped and their free basement babysitter is locked in. In the real world, my commercial kitchen is spotlessly clean, my staff is resting at home, and Jada's high society gala has exactly zero food ordered for it. I am not the kind of woman who sits around an empty house on a major holiday just to gloat. If my kitchen is closed in Atlanta, I am going to take my talents where they are properly valued. I open my personal contact directory reserved only for high net worth clients and elite event coordinators across the country. I scroll past the local event planners and dial the direct line of a concierge manager based in Colorado. We have partnered on several exclusive corporate retreats in the past, and she knows my work is impeccable. I tell her I unexpectedly have a completely clear schedule for the Christmas weekend and ask if she has any desperate high-tier clients looking for an executive chef. She gasps over the phone, telling me it is an absolute holiday miracle. She explains that a billionaire tech mogul just fired his private chef over a menu dispute and is actively panicking because he is hosting his entire extended family at his Aspen estate. I do not hesitate. I tell her I am available, but my last-minute holiday rate is a premium figure requiring a 100% deposit wired up front. I name a number that would make my mother choke on her sparkling water. The concierge manager does not even negotiate. She sends the contract to my email within 5 minutes, and the funds clear into my business account before I even finish printing the document. I am officially booked. I will be thousands of miles away, surrounded by snow-capped mountains and people who actually pay for the luxury they consume. But my sabotage of Jada's gala is not complete just yet. I realize that over the past few days, Jada has casually dumped several other logistical nightmares onto my plate, assuming I would just absorb the cost and the stress to ensure her night went smoothly. She told me to secure the valet parking attendants, the bartender, and the high-end furniture rentals. She genuinely expected my catering company to act as her personal full-service event planning agency for absolutely free. I open my vendor portal and begin the systematic dismantling of her entire evening. First, I call the premium rental company. I had originally placed a tentative hold on 50 crystal champagne flutes, a dozen silver chafing dishes, and 10 highboy cocktail tables to match her winter wonderland aesthetic. I tell the vendor manager to cancel the entire hold and release the inventory back to the public. He asks if I am sure, considering how impossible it is to find luxury rentals 2 days before Christmas. I tell him I am absolutely certain and to remove my business name from the Buckhead residential address. Next, I contact the premier mixology staffing agency I use for corporate events. I had penciled in 2 of their top-tier bartenders for the gala. I call the agency owner and officially pull my sponsorship of the booking. I tell him the client is no longer financially viable and I will not guarantee their payment. He immediately cancels the bartenders, leaving Jada with a fully stocked liquor cabinet and absolutely no one to serve it to her pretentious guests. Finally, I tackle the valet service. Trent's parents are accustomed to pulling their luxury vehicles up to a grand entrance and having someone hand them a claim ticket. I call the valet dispatch and cancel the 5 drivers I had placed on standby. If Trent's wealthy friends want to attend this gala, they are going to have to park their own imported sports cars 3 blocks away in the freezing December rain and walk to the front door in their designer shoes. Every single thread holding Jada's event together has been completely severed. The invisible safety net I always provided has been snatched away. They wanted to lock me in a concrete basement and steal $20,000 in my name. Instead, they are going to walk into a house with no food, no drinks, no staff, no parking, and no dignity. With the physical logistics destroyed, I quietly gather my ammunition for the final confrontation. I open my business laptop and pull the public records of Jada's Limited Liability Company. I take screenshots of her failing business margins, showing the massive deficit she is trying to cover up with her in-law's money. I compile a formal invoice for my catering services detailing every single requested item from the Wagyu beef to the winter truffles, to the staffing costs, calculating the exact $20,000 figure she charged Trent's parents. I take the screenshots of the text messages where Vivian and Jada demanded I hide in the basement and bring my own folding chair. I organize every piece of evidence into a secure digital folder on my phone, preparing the exact files I will need to expose their fraud. I walk through my quiet house feeling a profound sense of liberation. For 35 years, I allowed the title of family to act as a guilt trip, keeping me tethered to people who viewed my success as a threat and my labor as an entitlement. I spent my entire adult life trying to prove my worth to a mother who only saw me as a disappointment and a sister who only saw me as a stepping stone. That ends right now. I head into my bedroom and pull my heavy-duty winter luggage from the top shelf of my closet. I fold my thick cashmere sweaters, my tailored chef coats, and my heavy winter boots. I pack my custom-forged Japanese steel knives, carefully wrapping them in their protective leather roll. I am not packing for a holiday obligation. I am packing for a high-paying professional triumph. As I zip my suitcase closed, my phone screen lights up with another notification from the family group chat. It is a message from Trent this time. He is complaining about the cost of the floral arrangements Jada ordered and casually reminds her to make sure I do not try to sneak any of his expensive scotch while I am down in the basement with the toddlers. He actually types the words, "Make sure your sister knows her place." I stare at the message, letting the pure, unadulterated disrespect wash over me. I do not feel anger anymore. Anger requires an emotional investment, and I am completely divested from these people. I feel nothing but absolute cold, calculating satisfaction. I lock my phone screen and turn off the lights in my bedroom. Let them enjoy their arrogance for the next 48 hours. The countdown to their public destruction is officially ticking, and I am going to ensure every single second of their downfall is spectacular. I wake up the next morning long before the sun even considers rising over the Atlanta skyline. My internal clock is hardwired from years of running early morning prep shifts and managing massive culinary operations. But today, there is no frantic rush to the commercial kitchen. There is no barking orders to line cooks or double-checking wholesale delivery manifests. Today my schedule belongs entirely to me, and the quiet hum of my house feels like a hard-won victory. I walk into my kitchen and brew a pot of premium single-origin coffee. While the dark roast drips, I open my laptop and log into my business banking portal. I need to verify that the logistics for my escape route are completely locked in. I click on the Recent Transactions tab, and a slow, genuine smile spreads across my face. The wire transfer from the Colorado estate has officially cleared. The retainer fee alone is a staggering 5-figure sum deposited directly into my corporate account. It is absolute, undeniable proof of my professional worth. Mr. Sterling, the billionaire tech mogul who hired me, did not ask for a family discount. He did not ask me to reduce my rate or beg for exposure. He saw my portfolio, recognized my elite-tier expertise, and paid my premium holiday rate without a single moment of hesitation. My phone buzzes against the marble countertop. It is a scheduled check-in call from Elena, the executive estate manager for the Sterling family in Aspen. I answer the call, keeping my tone crisp and professional. "Good morning, Chef Zuri," Elena says, her voice projecting the kind of hyper-competent efficiency I deeply respect. "I am calling to confirm the final travel logistics for your arrival tomorrow. We have secured your seat on a private charter departing from the executive terminal at Hartsfield-Jackson. A car will be waiting on the tarmac in Aspen to bring you directly to the estate." "Thank you, Elena," I reply, taking a sip of my coffee. I have already reviewed the dietary profiles for the Sterling family and the extended guests. I secured a secondary supplier in Denver to ensure the white winter truffles are waiting in the kitchen when I arrive. We are fully prepared to execute the 7-course tasting menu for Christmas Eve. Elena breathes a sigh of relief over the phone. "You have no idea how grateful we are that you accommodated us on such short notice, Chef. Mr. Sterling was incredibly impressed by your menu proposal. The previous chef lacked the creative vision for the standard this family expects. We are completely entrusting the holiday experience to your capable hands." I thank her and disconnect the call. I set the phone down and let her words sink in. "We are completely entrusting the holiday experience to your capable hands." That is how clients speak to a master of their craft. That is how people communicate when they value the labor and artistry you bring to the table. I compare Elena's deep professional respect to the text message Trent sent me last night, demanding I know my place and ordering me not to steal his cheap scotch while I babysit in a concrete basement. The contrast is so sharp it is almost comical. I spend the next hour solidifying my defensive perimeter. I need to make absolutely certain that my catering team in Atlanta is completely shielded from the fallout that is about to hit Jada and Vivian. I open my messaging app and send a direct text to Malik, my incredibly loyal sous chef. "Good morning, Malik," I type. "I just wanted to verify that all kitchen alarms are set, and the facility is completely locked down for the holiday weekend. Do not answer any calls from unknown numbers or my family members over the next 48 hours. Enjoy the paid time off with your wife and kids. Turn your phone off and get some rest. You earned it." Malik replies almost instantly with a picture of his two young daughters wearing matching holiday pajamas in front of their Christmas tree. "Facility is locked tight, chef. My phone is going on airplane mode until the 26th. Thank you again for the massive holiday bonus. You are the best boss in the city. Have a safe flight to Colorado." I close the messaging app feeling a profound sense of pride. I take care of my people and they take care of my business. We operate on mutual respect and fair compensation. My family could learn a lot from my kitchen staff, but they are far too arrogant to ever take notes from someone they view as beneath them. With my team secured and my Aspen logistics perfectly locked in, I turn my attention to the digital trap I have meticulously constructed. I open the encrypted folder on my laptop desktop labeled Gala. This is my ammunition depot. I review the documents one by one, ensuring every piece of evidence is sharp, clear, and legally undeniable. First, I open the screenshot of Jada's text message explicitly detailing the basement babysitting scheme. The image clearly shows her demanding I stay out of sight so I do not ruin her sophisticated aesthetic. Next, I open the screenshot of Vivian's message ordering me to use the servant entrance and bring my own folding chair. I read the words again, feeling zero emotional sting. They are just data points, now evidence of their profound character flaws. Then I open the most devastating file of all. It is the audio transcript and summary of the conversation I overheard on the patio. I have documented the exact date, time, and location where Jada bragged to Trent about scamming his parents out of $20,000. Alongside the transcript, I have attached the formal itemized invoice from my catering company. It breaks down the exact cost of the Wagyu beef, the caviar, the imported truffles, and the elite service staff, totaling exactly $20,000. It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt the precise value of the labor and resources they intended to steal from me. I open my email client and draft a new message. I leave the recipient line blank for now, but I type out Trent's parents' names in the greeting. I attach the entire digital folder to the email. I write a brief, highly professional message explaining that I am the executive chef they supposedly hired for the evening. I detail exactly how their daughter-in-law misappropriated their investment and how she planned to use my unpaid labor to cover up her failing lifestyle brand's massive financial deficit. I read through the draft, checking it for absolute clarity. There is no emotional ranting, there is no defensive posturing. It reads like a forensic audit of a massive social fraud. It is a corporate execution wrapped in a polite holiday greeting. I click Save to Drafts. The bomb is fully armed and sitting quietly in my outbox. All I have to do is wait for the perfect moment to press send. I close my laptop and finish my coffee. My bags are packed by the door. My knives are rolled and secured. My flight departs early tomorrow morning. I look around my quiet, beautiful home, knowing that by this time tomorrow, Jada's sprawling suburban mansion will be the site of a spectacular social apocalypse. I wash my coffee mug, dry it carefully, and set it in the cabinet. I am ready. I grab the heavy handle of my canvas duffel bag and sling it over my shoulder. I pick up my custom leather knife roll and walk out the front door, locking it firmly behind me. The crisp morning air hits my face as I load my gear into the trunk of my car. I drive through the quiet Atlanta streets, heading straight for the executive terminal at Hartsfield-Jackson. There is no traffic and no stress. I hand my keys to the valet and walk into the private aviation lounge. The concierge greets me by name, offering a warm smile and a perfectly brewed espresso. I sit in a plush leather chair watching the sun rise over the runway. I think about my sister Jada waking up right now, probably screaming at her husband Trent because the florist delivered the wrong shade of white roses. I think about my mother Vivian pacing the hardwood floors of that massive suburban mansion, completely blind to the fact that her master plan is already dead in the water. Boarding the private charter feels like stepping into a different universe. The flight attendant takes my coat and hands me a glass of sparkling water with a slice of fresh lemon. I recline my seat and look out the window as the plane lifts off the tarmac, leaving Georgia far behind. I spend the flight reviewing the dietary profiles for the Sterling family one last time. I do not look at my family group chat. I have already muted the notifications. They are talking to themselves in an empty digital room, believing they hold all the power, while I soar 30,000 feet above their delusion. We touch down in Colorado just as the snow begins to fall. The runway is surrounded by towering pine trees and jagged mountain peaks. A sleek, black luxury sport utility vehicle is waiting on the tarmac, exactly as promised. The driver steps out wearing a dark tailored suit. He opens my door and takes my bags, treating me with the exact level of professional courtesy I expect and demand. The drive up the mountain is breathtaking. We wind through private roads passing estates that make Jada's house look like a starter home. We pull up to a massive structure made of glass, timber, and stone. The front doors open before I even step out of the vehicle. Mr. Sterling, the billionaire tech mogul who hired me, is standing in the foyer. He does not send a servant to greet me. He steps forward himself and extends his hand. "Welcome, Chef Zuri," he says, his voice filled with genuine appreciation. "We are incredibly honored to have you here to save our holiday." I shake his hand firmly. "The pleasure is entirely mine, Mr. Sterling," I reply. "Let us get to work." He personally escorts me to the estate's main kitchen. It is a masterpiece of culinary engineering. Massive marble prep islands, custom commercial-grade ranges, and a walk-in refrigerator stocked with every premium ingredient I requested are waiting for me. A team of 4 highly trained local prep cooks stands at attention, ready for my direction. They do not look at me like I am the help. They look at me like I am the commanding officer. For the next several hours, I immerse myself in the pure joy of my profession. There is no gaslighting, no manipulation, no degrading comments about my marital status or my age. There is only the rhythm of the kitchen, the precise execution of complex flavor profiles, and the satisfaction of leading a highly competent team. We prepare a stunning Christmas Eve dinner featuring herb-crusted rack of lamb, wild-caught Alaskan halibut, and a decadent dark chocolate ganache tart. When the food is served in the formal dining room overlooking the snow-covered mountains, the reaction is instantaneous. Mr. Sterling and his extended family applaud the presentation. They savor every bite, complimenting my technique and praising the sophisticated balance of the menu. They invite me into the dining room to personally thank me, raising their glasses to toast my expertise. The contrast between this room full of billionaires treating me with profound reverence and my own mother telling me to eat scraps in a concrete basement is staggering. It reinforces every single decision I have made. I am a highly successful executive chef. I will never allow anyone to diminish my light again, especially not the people who share my blood. After the kitchen is spotlessly cleaned and the staff is dismissed for the night, I am escorted to my private accommodations. I am not relegated to a cramped servant quarter. I am given a luxury guest suite with panoramic mountain views, a roaring stone fireplace, and high thread count Egyptian cotton sheets. I run a hot bath, soaking in the deep tub, letting the tension of the past week melt entirely out of my muscles. I step out, wrap myself in a thick plush robe, and pour a glass of the vintage wine Mr. Sterling gifted me. I walk over to the window, watching the snow fall silently over the valley. I pick up my phone and open the family group chat one last time. Jada has sent a final message. "Do not be late tomorrow, Zuri. Trent's parents are arriving right at 4. Have the appetizers ready and get down to the basement before they walk in." I am not joking about this. I stare at the message. The sheer arrogant entitlement oozing from every word is almost poetic. I do not reply. The board is set. The pieces are perfectly aligned. They have dug their own grave, lined it with their own lies, and handed me the shovel. I plug my phone into the charger and climb into the massive, comfortable bed. I fall asleep instantly, resting peacefully in the absolute certainty that tomorrow is going to be the most devastating Christmas my family has ever experienced. The sun rises brilliantly over the Rockies on Christmas morning. I wake up naturally feeling completely refreshed. There is no frantic rushing. There is no anxiety gnawing at my stomach. I head down to the kitchen and prepare a flawless holiday brunch for the Sterling family. Butter-poached lobster eggs Benedict on house-made brioche and a winter citrus tart. Mr. Sterling personally comes into the kitchen after the meal, handing me a thick envelope containing a holiday bonus that rivals the entire fraudulent budget my sister tried to steal from me. He thanks me again and tells me my talent is unmatched. I pack up my pristine chef knives and officially clock out. My professional obligations are fulfilled by 3 in the afternoon Mountain Time. That makes it exactly 5 o'clock in the evening Eastern Standard Time in Atlanta. I head back to my luxury guest suite and change into an emerald green swimsuit. I pour myself a generous glass of champagne wrap, a heavy towel around my shoulders, and step out onto the private heated terrace. The freezing mountain air bites at my skin for just a second before I slip into the steaming water of the outdoor infinity pool. The contrast is spectacular. I rest my arms on the stone ledge looking out over the breathtaking valley below. I set my phone on a dry towel right next to my champagne glass. I know exactly what is happening right now in Buckhead. The 100 VIP guests have arrived. The valet they expected does not exist. The bartenders they expected are nowhere to be found. The kitchen is completely dark and empty. The rented silver chafing dishes are stone cold. Worse, there is no one in the unfinished basement. Which means 15 toddlers belonging to the wealthy investors are running completely wild through Jada's pristine white living room, destroying her curated winter wonderland aesthetic. I look at my phone, taking a slow sip of champagne, and I wait for the explosion. It is the morning of December 24th. The air in Atlanta is unusually brisk, cutting through the typical southern humidity. But inside my kitchen, everything is perfectly still. I am standing at my marble island, holding a cup of freshly brewed dark roast coffee. There is no chaotic prep list running through my mind. There is no anxiety about burning a roast or disappointing ungrateful relatives. There is only a profound, heavy silence that feels like a hard-won victory. My bags are already packed and sitting by the front door. My custom-forged Japanese steel knives are safely secured in their leather roll. I am completely ready to leave this city and this toxic family dynamic behind. My phone vibrates violently against the granite countertop, shattering the quiet. The screen lights up with a new message in the family group chat. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my coffee before I reach out and unlock the screen. It is a message from Vivian. Even through the digital text, the sheer venom and arrogant entitlement of her words practically radiate off the screen. Make sure you use the side entrance tomorrow, Zuri, she commands. The front door is strictly for Trent's family and the VIP guests. We do not want you tracking kitchen grease through the main foyer. Bring your own folding chair for the basement because we do not want you getting the good furniture dirty. And park down the street. Trent needs the driveway clear for the valet service. I read the message twice. I let the words sink into my brain, analyzing the absolute depths of their disrespect. Bring your own folding chair. They are demanding that a 35-year-old executive chef, a woman who owns a multi-million-dollar company and employs 20 people, bring a piece of cheap plastic seating to a concrete basement so I do not dirty their furniture. They view me as something contagious, something so far beneath them that I am not even worthy of a proper chair in my own sister's home. They want me to cook a Michelin-caliber meal for 100 elite guests and then retreat to the shadows like a stray dog begging for scraps. A few seconds later, Jada chimes in, adding her own layer of breathtaking audacity. And Zuri, do not even think about sneaking any of the Wagyu beef or the caviar. That is strictly for the paying investors. I left a box of frozen dinosaur nuggets and some instant macaroni in the deep freeze for you and the toddlers. Make sure you bleach the basement floor before they get down there. I am not joking about this. Do not mess this up for me. I stare at the screen. I do not feel a single ounce of anger. Anger requires an emotional investment, and I am completely bankrupt when it comes to caring about these people. My heart rate does not elevate. My hands do not shake. I simply tap the reply box. I do not write a massive paragraph defending my worth. I do not call them to scream about their blatant $20,000 fraud. I type a single chilling sentence that serves as my final communication before the trap completely closes around them. Everything will be exactly what you paid for. I hit send. Within 10 seconds, Vivian and Jada both heart react the message. Their absolute delusion blinds them to the double meaning of my words. They think they have broken my spirit. They think I am obediently submitting to my role as the family scapegoat, the free labor they can exploit and hide away. I lock my phone, toss it into my designer handbag, and walk toward the front door. The drive to Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport is smooth and entirely stress-free. I bypass the chaotic holiday crowd sweating in the main terminal and head straight for the private aviation lounge. I hand my keys to the valet. The concierge greets me by name, offering a warm, genuine smile. She takes my coat and ushers me into a quiet, luxurious sanctuary away from the noise. She hands me a crystal glass of sparkling water with a slice of fresh lemon. I sink into a plush leather armchair and look out the massive windows at the planes taxiing across the tarmac. I think about my mother telling me to bring a folding chair. I look down at the rich mahogany and leather beneath me, and I smile. The chains of familial obligation that have dragged me down for 35 years have finally been severed. Boarding my flight to Aspen, Colorado feels like stepping through a portal into a completely different reality. I settle into my spacious first-class pod. The flight attendant addresses me as Chef Zuri, offering me a warm towel and a customized menu for the flight. As the plane lifts off the runway, leaving Georgia far below, I look out the window at the sprawling suburban neighborhoods. Somewhere down there, Jada is frantically directing a cleaning crew to polish her chandeliers, completely oblivious to the fact that her kitchen is empty and her wholesale food orders have been canceled. Somewhere down there, Vivian is bragging to her friends about the elite catering she secured, completely unaware that she is walking straight into a social massacre. The flight is a seamless transition from the damp southern winter to the crisp, frozen beauty of the Rocky Mountains. When we land in Aspen, the snow is falling in thick, heavy flakes, blanketing the private runway in pure white. I step off the plane and breathe in the sharp, freezing air. There is no struggling to find a ride. There is no begging a toxic family member to pick me up. A sleek black luxury sport utility vehicle is waiting for me on the tarmac. A professional driver in a tailored dark suit steps forward and opens the door, holding a heavy umbrella to shield me from the snow. "Welcome to Aspen, Chef Zuri," he says respectfully, loading my luggage and my knife roll into the trunk. "Mr. Sterling is eagerly anticipating your arrival at the estate." The drive up the mountain is breathtaking. We wind through highly secured private roads, passing estates that make Jada's Buckhead mansion look like a starter home. We pull up to a massive structure made of glass, timber, and stone perched on the edge of a cliff overlooking the valley. The front doors open before I even step out of the vehicle. Mr. Sterling, the billionaire tech mogul who hired me, does not send a servant to greet me. He steps out into the cold himself and extends his hand. "Welcome, Chef Zuri," he says, his voice filled with genuine appreciation and respect. "We are incredibly honored to have you here to save our family holiday." I shake his hand firmly. "The pleasure is entirely mine, Mr. Sterling," I reply, matching his professional warmth. "Let us get to work." He personally escorts me inside, bypassing the servant entrances entirely. He walks me straight into the heart of his home, treating me as an esteemed guest and a master of my craft. He leads me to the estate's main commercial kitchen, and my breath catches in my throat. It is a culinary masterpiece. Custom commercial-grade ranges, massive marble prep islands, built-in sous-vide stations, and a walk-in refrigerator stocked with every premium ingredient I requested. A team of 4 highly trained local prep cooks stands at attention, waiting for my direction. They do not look at me like I am the help. They look at me like I am the commanding officer. For the next several hours, I immerse myself in the pure, unfiltered joy of my profession. There is no gaslighting, no manipulation, no degrading comments about my marital status. There is only the rhythm of the kitchen, the precise execution of complex flavor profiles, and the satisfaction of leading a highly competent team. We prepare a stunning Christmas Eve dinner featuring herb-crusted rack of lamb wild, caught Alaskan halibut, and a decadent dark chocolate ganache tart. When the food is served in the massive formal dining room overlooking the snow-covered mountains, the reaction is instantaneous. Mr. Sterling and his extended family applaud the presentation. They savor every bite, complimenting my technique and praising the sophisticated balance of the menu. They invite me into the dining room to personally thank me, raising their glasses to toast my expertise. The contrast between this room full of billionaires treating me with profound reverence and my own mother telling me to eat frozen dinosaur nuggets in a concrete basement is staggering. It reinforces every single decision I have made. I am a highly successful executive chef. I am a master of my industry. I will never allow anyone to diminish my light again, especially not the people who share my blood. After the kitchen is spotlessly cleaned and the staff is dismissed for the night, I am escorted to my private accommodations. I am not relegated to a cramped servant quarter. I am given a luxury guest suite with panoramic mountain views, a roaring stone fireplace, and high thread-count Egyptian cotton sheets. I run a hot bath soaking in the deep tub, letting the tension of my past life melt entirely out of my muscles. I step out, wrap myself in a thick plush robe, and pour a glass of the vintage wine Mr. Sterling gifted me. I walk over to the window, watching the snow fall silently over the valley. I pick up my phone and check the family group chat one last time. Jada has sent a final reminder demanding I not be late tomorrow. I do not reply. The board is perfectly set. They have dug their own grave, lined it with their own lies, and handed me the shovel. I plug my phone into the charger, set it on the nightstand, and climb into the massive, comfortable bed, falling asleep with a quiet smile on my face. The sun breaches the jagged peaks of the Rocky Mountains, sending a flood of brilliant golden light across my luxury guest suite. I open my eyes and stare at the vaulted timber ceiling, taking a deep breath of the crisp, filtered air. It is Christmas morning. For the past 15 years, my Christmas mornings have been a chaotic blur of screaming relatives, burning stoves, and ungrateful complaints. I would normally be covered in flour and grease by now, desperately trying to salvage whatever culinary disaster my mother or sister had initiated before demanding I take over. Today, there is only the soft crackle of the stone fireplace and the profound, heavy silence of absolute freedom. I throw off the high thread-count Egyptian cotton sheets and step onto the heated hardwood floor. I walk over to the massive floor-to-ceiling windows and look out at the snow-covered valley. The world is entirely white and pristine. I do not check my phone. I know it is sitting on the nightstand, completely silent, because I activated the strict do not disturb protocol. Vivian and Jada are currently operating in a vacuum of their own arrogance, completely unaware that the invisible safety net they have exploited for decades is currently standing 2 time zones away, holding a cup of espresso. I dress in my crisp, white tailored executive chef coat. I secure my hair, wash my hands, and grab my custom leather knife roll. When I walk down the wide, sweeping staircase of the Sterling estate, I do not feel like a servant sneaking through a side door. I feel like a master of my craft arriving to command her domain. The main commercial kitchen is already humming with quiet, efficient energy. The 4 local prep cooks Mr. Sterling hired to assist me are standing by their stations. They stop what they are doing the second I walk into the room. "Good morning, Chef Zuri," they say in unison, their voices filled with absolute professional respect. There is no gaslighting here. There is no one telling me to grab a plastic folding chair. These culinary professionals look at me, and they see a leader. "Good morning, team," I reply, setting my knife roll on the pristine marble island. "Let us execute a flawless holiday service." We immediately fall into the beautiful rhythmic dance of a high-end commercial kitchen. The menu I designed for the Sterling family Christmas brunch is a masterclass in luxury. We are not serving frozen dinosaur nuggets on paper plates. We are preparing butter-poached Maine lobster served over house-made brioche toast, points topped with a rich saffron hollandaise. We are roasting heirloom root vegetables in duck fat and shaving fresh white winter truffles over farm-raised eggs. I move down the line, inspecting every plate, adjusting the seasoning, giving sharp but encouraging feedback to the prep cooks. At exactly 10 in the morning, the Sterling family gathers in their magnificent formal dining room. The table is set with fine crystal and polished silver. I personally carry the main serving platters out to the dining room flanked by my kitchen team. When I set the food down, the entire family stops their conversation. Mr. Sterling, the billionaire tech mogul who could afford any chef on the planet, stands up from his chair. He raises his glass of vintage champagne and looks directly at me. "Chef Zuri," he says, his voice carrying across the silent room. "You stepped in at the last minute and completely saved our family holiday. The dinner you executed last night was nothing short of spectacular, and the aromas coming from the kitchen this morning have been driving us crazy. We are incredibly grateful for your artistry and your professionalism." The entire family raises their glasses to me. They applaud. I nod my head graciously, thanking them for their hospitality and welcoming them to enjoy the meal. I walk back into the kitchen, and I feel a profound, fundamental shift in my own psychology. I have spent my entire adult life trying to prove my worth to a mother who only saw me as a disappointment and a sister who only saw me as a stepping stone. I allowed them to convince me that my loud personality and my blue-collar career were liabilities. But standing in this mansion surrounded by immense wealth and genuine respect, I finally understand the truth. I was never the problem. Their toxic insecurity was the problem. By 1 in the afternoon, Mountain Time, the kitchen is spotlessly clean. The dishes are sanitized and put away. The prep cooks are dismissed with generous cash tips. My professional obligations are officially fulfilled. I am wiping down the final stainless steel prep station when Mr. Sterling walks into the kitchen. He is holding a thick, crisp white envelope. He hands it to me with a warm smile. "Your contracted rate was already wired to your business account, chef," he says, "but my family insists you take this holiday bonus. Your execution was flawless, and you operate with a level of grace and authority that is very rare to find. Please consider making us a regular client whenever you are willing to travel." I take the envelope and thank him profusely. When he leaves the kitchen, I open the seal. Inside is a stack of crisp bills. I do the math in my head. The bonus alone is more than the entire $20,000 fraudulent budget Jada and Vivian tried to steal from me. They wanted me to work for free and hide in a basement while they pocketed stolen cash. Instead, I flew across the country, commanded a premium rate, and received a massive cash bonus from a client who actually values my humanity. I head back to my luxury guest suite and change into an emerald green swimsuit. I pour myself a generous glass of Veuve Clicquot and step out onto my private heated terrace. The freezing mountain air bites at my skin for just a second before I slip into the steaming water of the outdoor infinity pool. The contrast is spectacular. I rest my arms on the stone ledge looking out over the breathtaking valley below. I set my phone on a dry towel right next to my champagne glass. I glance at the clock on the screen. It is 2 in the afternoon Mountain Time. That makes it exactly 4 in the afternoon Eastern Standard Time in Atlanta, Georgia. The trap is officially springing shut. I close my eyes and visualize the exact scene currently unfolding at Jada's sprawling suburban mansion. The sun is beginning to set over Buckhead. The 100 VIP guests are pulling into her exclusive gated community in their imported luxury sedans and sports cars. Trent's old money Connecticut parents are stepping out of their vehicle dressed in tailored designer winter wear, ready to judge every single detail of their daughters-in-law home. They expect a grand entrance. They expect a team of uniformed valet drivers to immediately take their keys and park their cars. But the driveway is completely empty. There is no valet service because I canceled the contract 3 days ago. The wealthy investors are being forced to park their own cars down the street in the freezing December rain and walk to the front door in their expensive leather shoes. They walk into the massive foyer expecting to be greeted by professional mixologists, handing them crystal flutes of premium champagne. But the custom cocktail bar is completely deserted. There are no bartenders, because I pulled my sponsorship of the staffing agency and canceled their booking. The guests move into the pristine white living room, expecting the tantalizing aroma of Wagyu beef and winter truffles. But the air is completely odorless. The massive gourmet kitchen is completely dark. The rented silver chafing dishes they expect to see are simply not there because I canceled the luxury rental order. There is absolutely no food. But the most devastating blow of all is happening right there in the center of the living room. Trent's parents and the wealthy investors brought their children expecting an elite boutique child development agency to whisk the 15 toddlers away for a night of curated holiday entertainment. But there is no childcare service. There is no free sister hiding in the unfinished concrete basement waiting to serve frozen dinosaur nuggets. Which means 15 toddlers are currently running completely wild through Jada's flawless winter wonderland aesthetic. They are screaming, they are crying, and they are smearing sticky hands all over her custom velvet sofas. The sophisticated high society gala she promised her in-laws has instantly transformed into a chaotic, unsupervised nightmare. I take a slow, deep sip of my champagne, feeling the crisp bubbles burst against my tongue. I open my phone and turn off the Do Not Disturb protocol. I want to see the exact moment the realization hits them. I want to see the exact second they understand that the invisible foundation they built their entire fraudulent scheme upon has completely vanished. I lean back against the smooth stone of the hot tub, watching the snow fall over the pines, and wait for the explosion. My phone sits on the dry stone ledge of the hot tub perfectly still for exactly 4 minutes. I watch the digital clock on the screen shift from 3:59 to 4 o'clock Mountain Time. That makes it 6 in the evening in Atlanta, the exact moment Jada specified on her glossy gold embossed invitations for the VIP guests to arrive at her sprawling suburban mansion. The exact moment her high society illusion is scheduled to collide violently with reality. At 4 o'clock and 12 seconds, the screen lights up. It is a text message from Jada. Zuri, the security gate says your catering van has not checked in. Tell your drivers to hurry up. Trent's parents are pulling into the neighborhood right now. I do not touch the phone. I let the screen go dark, leaning my head back against the smooth, wet stone. I close my eyes and visualize the scene unfolding 2,000 miles away. Jada is likely standing in her grand foyer wearing a custom designer gown, peering frantically through the sidelight windows. She expects to see a fleet of my professional staff rushing to set up the raw bar. She expects to see uniformed valet drivers ready to open doors for her wealthy investors. Instead, she is looking at an empty, rain-slicked driveway. 5 minutes later, the phone vibrates again. The screen lights up with a message from Vivian. Zuri, where is the valet company you booked? Trent's father just had to park his own Mercedes 3 blocks down the street in the freezing rain. His leather shoes are ruined. Fix this immediately. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my champagne. The mental image of Trent's elitist old money father trudging through the freezing Georgia rain in his expensive loafers brings a genuine smile to my face. They wanted to treat me like a lower-class citizen, demanding I use the servant entrance so I would not track grease into their pristine home. Now the very people they are trying to impress are dragging mud across Jada's imported marble floors. The notifications begin to accelerate, coming in rapid succession, as the initial confusion in that house rapidly metastasizes into full-blown panic. Jada texts again. Zuri, there are no bartenders in the living room. People are taking off their coats and asking for champagne. Where is your staff? Answer your phone. Vivian follows up immediately. This is not funny, Zuri. Get here right now. Trent is trying to pour drinks himself, but there are no mixers and no ice. I can see the social massacre playing out with absolute crystal clarity. Jada's living room is designed entirely for aesthetics, not functionality. It is a sterile winter wonderland of white velvet sofas, glass coffee tables, and delicate crystal decorations. It is the perfect backdrop for a sophisticated networking event. But it is an absolute death trap for the demographic that is currently walking through her front doors. Because I did not just cancel the food and the bartenders. I canceled the invisible safety net they relied on to hide their most glaring oversight. At 4:20, the text transitioned from annoyed commands to sheer, unadulterated terror. Jada types in all capital letters. Where are you? The kids are here. The investors brought their toddlers. Where is the babysitter? Vivian sends a message 30 seconds later. Zuri, answer me right now. A child just spilled apple juice on the white Persian rug. The parents are looking for the childcare staff. Get to the basement and set up the playmats immediately. I set my champagne glass down on the ledge, resting my chin on my folded arms as the snow continues to fall silently around me. There are 15 toddlers currently running loose inside Jada's flawless architectural digest fantasy. 15 bored, hungry, unsupervised children under the age of 5, whose wealthy parents were promised elite boutique childcare for the evening. I picture these toddlers hyped up on whatever holiday sugar their parents fed them in the car, completely dismantling the gala. They are wiping sticky fingers on custom silk drapes. They are treating the expensive modern art sculptures like jungle gyms. And Jada cannot say a single word to stop them. She cannot yell at these children because their parents are the exact investors she is desperately trying to court to save her failing lifestyle brand. She has to stand there, wearing a frozen, panic-stricken smile, watching her house be systematically destroyed while desperately trying to maintain her poise. By 4:30, the reality of the food situation has finally dawned on them. They have been stalling, offering excuses about traffic and delayed catering trucks, but the lie can only hold up for so long in a house that smells absolutely like nothing. There is no aroma of roasted Wagyu beef. There is no scent of buttery brioche or shaved truffles. The massive gourmet kitchen is completely dark, spotless, and empty. Vivian sends a message that practically screams through the screen. Zuri, Trent's. Mother just walked into the kitchen to check on the food. The chafing dishes are not here. The refrigerator is empty. Where is the $20,000 worth of catering? Call me this exact second. Jada follows up her text, a frantic stream of consciousness. You are ruining my life. Trent is screaming at me. His parents are whispering to the investors. Everyone is starving. The kids are breaking things. Call me back, call me back, call me back. I watch the notifications stack up on the lock screen. 10 missed messages. 20. 30. The missed calls begin to register. Jada calls 4 times in a row. Vivian calls 6 times. Trent attempts to call twice. The phone vibrates constantly against the stone ledge, buzzing like an angry hornet. They are trapped in a nightmare of their own meticulous design. They wanted a 5-star luxury experience, but they refused to pay for it. They believed they could exploit my labor, steal my resources, and lock me in a concrete basement simply because I share their blood. They genuinely thought I would bow my head and absorb the cost of their high society ambitions out of some twisted sense of familial duty. They underestimated my self-respect, and more importantly, they completely underestimated my professional ruthlessness. I do not feel a single ounce of guilt. I do not feel pity for my sister as her business prospects collapse in front of her eyes. I do not feel bad for my mother, as her country club reputation is publicly shredded by the very people she worships. They built a massive, fragile house of cards on the assumption that my spine would break under their weight. They are simply experiencing the natural law of gravity. The phone stops buzzing with text messages. There is a brief 3-second pause of absolute silence. I pull my arms out of the steaming water, the freezing Colorado air raising goosebumps on my skin. I reach for the phone and dry my hands on a plush towel. I know exactly what is coming next. The texts have failed. The standard phone calls have been ignored. They are going to escalate to the only option they have left. The screen illuminates brightly, flashing with an incoming FaceTime video call. The caller ID displays Vivian's name. I unlock the screen. I adjust my positioning in the hot tub, making sure the spectacular snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains are perfectly framed in the background behind my shoulders. I take a deep centering breath, my face settling into an expression of absolute unbothered calm. I press the green button to accept the call, ready to deliver the execution they have been begging for. The screen flickers for a fraction of a second before the video feed connects. The image that fills my phone is a masterpiece of absolute panic. Vivian is holding the camera too close to her face. Her usually immaculate silk blouse is wrinkled, and a visible bead of sweat is rolling down her temple, completely ruining the expensive foundation she applied just hours ago. Her eyes are wide, darting frantically around the room, as if she is looking for an escape route from her own house. Behind her shoulder, the visual evidence of the ongoing catastrophe is playing out in high definition. Jada's pristine, perfectly curated winter wonderland living room has been entirely overrun. I can clearly see a toddler wearing a velvet holiday outfit, aggressively grinding what looks like a handful of chocolate directly into the custom white sofa. Another child is sprinting past the camera clutching a fragile crystal ornament snatched from the massive 12-foot Christmas tree. The low, sophisticated jazz music they had playing earlier has been completely drowned out by the piercing, relentless shrieks of unsupervised children and the agitated murmurs of 100 extremely wealthy, extremely hungry guests. Zuri, stop playing these childish games right now. Vivian screams through the speaker. Her voice is shrill, echoing with a level of desperation I have never heard from her before. Trent's parents have been sitting in the formal dining room for 20 minutes holding empty crystal glasses. The investors are asking for the appetizer rotation. The kitchen is completely dark. Where is your catering van? Why are you not in the basement keeping these feral children quiet? Get through the back gate right this second. I do not adjust my posture. I do not drop my smile. I take a slow, deliberate sip of my champagne, ensuring the crystal flute is clearly visible in the camera frame. Merry Christmas, Mother, I say. My voice is smooth, completely unbothered, and perfectly pitched to contrast her absolute hysteria. Vivian blinks at the screen. The polite, cheerful greeting short-circuits her brain for a moment. She stares at the steaming water rippling around my shoulders. She looks at the emerald green fabric of my swimsuit and the condensation gathering on my champagne glass. Are you in a bathtub? Vivian demands, her voice cracking with mounting horror. Zuri, I am not joking with you. Trent's mother just walked into the kitchen to check on the chafing dishes and found nothing but empty marble counters. People are starving. This is the most important night of your sister's life. Get out of the water, put your chef coat on, and get your staff into this house immediately. I lean back against the wet stone ledge. I make sure to hold the phone at a steady angle so she gets a comprehensive view of my surroundings. I am afraid that is completely impossible, Vivian, I reply, keeping my tone strictly professional. As the executive chef and owner of a premier luxury catering company, I operate under very strict corporate policies. I only provide high-end culinary services to paying clients. Since the invoice for your highly anticipated Christmas gala was exactly $0, your delivery for the evening is exactly $0. Vivian stares at the screen. Her mouth opens and closes twice before any sound actually comes out. The sheer audacity of me telling her no is something her mind simply cannot process. You cannot do this to us, Vivian shrieks. Her panic is instantly transforming into desperate, venomous rage. We are your family. You owe us. You are ruining Jada's entire future over a petty temper tantrum. We told you to handle the food. We told you to stay in the basement. You are deliberately humiliating us in front of Trent's parents and the Buckhead elite. You humiliated yourselves, Mother. I counter, my voice dropping an octave into a cold, hard register. You wanted a Michelin star experience on a soup kitchen budget. You wanted me to sweat over a stove and then hide in a concrete basement like a dirty secret, so you would not have to introduce your blue-collar daughter to your snobby country club friends. You demanded my labor, my inventory, and my absolute submission. You got exactly what you paid for. Nothing. Before Vivian can launch into another tirade, there is a violent scuffle off camera. The phone shakes dizzily before a new face shoves into the frame. It is Jada. My sister's appearance is shocking. The polished, arrogant, high society hostess from 3 days ago is completely gone. Her designer gown is stained near the hem. Her perfect blowout is messy and her mascara is visibly smudged under her eyes. She is crying real panicked tears. Zuri, please. Jada begs, her voice shaking with genuine terror. You have to come here. Trent is losing his mind. His father is threatening to pull the investment funding right now if I do not get this under control. The kids are destroying my furniture. Everyone is asking where the elite childcare staff went. I will pay you whatever you want. I will write you a check right this second. Just get your staff here and fix this. I look at my younger sister, the golden child, the woman who has spent her entire life stepping on my neck to elevate her own status. Pay me with what, Jada? I ask softly. I have the money. Jada insists, wiping a frantic hand across her cheek. I can transfer $15,000 to your business account right now. Just tell your drivers to pull into the driveway. I shake my head slowly, letting a sharp, humorless laugh escape my lips. You cannot transfer anything to me, Jada. I say, my words cutting through the freezing mountain air, and my drivers are not sitting in traffic. My entire kitchen staff is currently at home, enjoying a fully paid holiday with their families. My commercial kitchen in Atlanta is locked, sanitized, and completely dark. There is no food coming, there are no bartenders coming, there is no valet service coming. I canceled every single rental and vendor associated with your address 3 days ago. Jada stares at me, her eyes wide with a terror so profound it almost looks like physical pain. You canceled the vendors. She whispers, her voice barely audible over the sound of a glass shattering loudly in the background of her living room. I canceled everything, I confirm. But you are in Atlanta. Jada pleads desperately, grasping at straws. You can go to the kitchen. You can whip something up. You can make some appetizers. You can come over here and just watch the kids in the basement like we agreed. Please, Zuri, I am begging you. I lift my free hand and tap the screen, switching the camera lens from the front-facing view to the rear-facing view. I pan the camera slowly across the breathtaking snow-capped peaks of the Rocky Mountains. I show her the towering pine trees, heavy with fresh snow, the sprawling glass and timber architecture of the billionaire estate behind me, and the absolute pristine isolation of the Colorado Valley. I flip the camera back to my face, offering her a final devastating smile. I am not in Atlanta, Jada, I say smoothly. I took a last-minute private chef gig for a client who actually respects my business and pays my premium holiday rate up front. I am currently soaking in a hot tub in Aspen, Colorado. I strongly suggest you order 50 pizzas because getting 100 people fed on Christmas Day in your neighborhood is going to be a logistical nightmare. Jada's mouth falls open in a silent scream of horror. She realizes in this exact second that there is no backup plan. There is no magical fix. She is 2,000 miles away from the sister she intended to exploit, standing in a house full of angry, hungry billionaires who are actively watching her lifestyle brand burn to the ground. How could you do this? Jada sobs, the camera shaking as her hands tremble. How could you destroy my life over a catering bill? We are blood. It is not about a catering bill, Jada, I reply, my voice turning to absolute ice. It is about the $20,000 you scammed out of your wealthy father-in-law. The color completely drains out of Jada's face. The frantic crying stops instantly, replaced by a look of sheer paralyzed dread. Vivian, standing just out of frame, lets out an audible gasp. I lean forward, making sure my eyes bore directly into the camera lens. I heard everything on the patio. Jada, I say, delivering the execution flawlessly. I heard you brag to Trent about securing $20,000 from his parents for premium catering and elite childcare. I heard you laugh about pocketing every single dime of their money by forcing me to work for free under the guise of family duty. I heard Vivian tell Trent that locking me in the basement was the best way to keep your fraudulent scheme hidden. I know exactly what you are, and more importantly, I know exactly what you stole. Jada is completely speechless. Her eyes dart back and forth in absolute terror. She opens her mouth to formulate a lie, to spin a new manipulation, to gaslight me one final time. But she never gets the chance. A heavy masculine hand violently snatches the phone out of Jada's grip. The camera swings wildly, capturing a blur of the ceiling before focusing on Trent's furious red face. The veins in his neck are bulging against his tailored dress shirt collar. He looks like a man who has just been publicly humiliated by his own wife, and he is ready to tear the room apart. Zuri, what the hell is wrong with you? Trent, roars, his voice vibrating through the speaker of my phone with enough force to distort the audio. You took my parents $20,000. You took their money, and you completely sabotaged this entire evening. My father is standing in the dining room demanding to know why he is eating mixed nuts instead of the Wagyu beef he paid for. You are a scam artist, and I am going to see you locked in a jail cell for wire fraud. I do not flinch. I do not raise my voice to match his volume. I simply adjust my grip on my champagne flute and look at him through the screen. Lower your voice when you speak to me, Trent, I say, my tone dangerously quiet and perfectly controlled. I am not your wife, and I am certainly not your subordinate. I suggest you take a very deep breath and listen carefully, because I am only going to explain your wife's massive financial crime to you one time. Trent scoffs, his face twisting into an ugly sneer. Do not try to spin this, Zuri. Jada showed me the wire transfer confirmation. My father sent $20,000 directly to your catering company to cover the premium holiday service and the elite childcare. You took the cash and you ran. You are nothing but a thief. I shake my head slowly, letting a cold, humorless smile touch my lips. Trent, your father did not wire a single dime to my catering company. He wired $20,000 to Jada's business account. The account tied to her failing lifestyle brand. The brand that has been bleeding capital for 6 consecutive quarters. That is impossible, Trent snaps, but I can see the very first microscopic fracture of doubt crack across his arrogant expression. Jada showed me the invoice with your company logo on it. Jada forged an invoice using my company logo. I correct him smoothly. She generated a fake document to justify extracting a massive sum of cash from your wealthy parents. Her brilliant master plan was to quietly funnel that money into her own deficit-ridden business accounts to save herself from bankruptcy. Trent stares at the screen, his breathing becoming shallow. Off camera, I can hear Jada sobbing hysterically. Trent, do not listen to her, she wails, her voice cracking with pure desperation. She is lying. She has always been jealous of me. She is just trying to destroy our marriage because she is bitter and alone. Hang up the phone, Trent. Please, just hang up the phone. I ignore my sister entirely, keeping my eyes locked on Trent. If she is telling the truth, Trent, then ask yourself a very simple, logical question. I say, leaning forward slightly. If I was paid $20,000 to execute a flawless 5-star culinary experience, why did Jada explicitly order me to hide in your unfinished concrete basement for the entire night? Trent's brow furrows in profound confusion. What are you talking about? No one told you to hide in the basement. Vivian suddenly shoves her face into the edge of the camera frame, her perfectly manicured nails gripping Trent's shoulder. Trent, turn the phone off right now. My mother demands, her voice shrill and commanding. We are handling this internally as a family. Do not let her manipulate you with these ridiculous lies. I take a slow sip of my champagne, letting the freezing mountain air contrast the absolute heat of their panic. I am not manipulating anyone, I state clearly. I am providing you with a forensic audit of the social fraud you are currently standing in the middle of. Jada and Vivian never intended to pay me. They demanded I supply $15,000 worth of raw ingredients and my entire kitchen staff completely for free under the guise of family duty. When I refused, they pivoted. They demanded I cook the meal for free and then spend the entire evening locked in your basement, babysitting 15 toddlers, so your refined country club friends would not have to interact with a blue-collar worker like me. Trent looks away from the screen, turning his head to glare at Jada, who is now openly weeping near the fireplace. Jada, tell me she is making this up. Trent growls, his voice dropping into a terrifyingly quiet register. Tell me you did not steal from my father to cover up your business losses. Tell me you did not plan to lock your own sister in our basement. Jada opens her mouth, but only a pathetic whining sob comes out. She looks at Vivian, pleading for her mother to construct a lie brilliant enough to save them. But Vivian is completely paralyzed, staring at Trent's furious profile with wide, terrified eyes. You want the absolute, undeniable truth, Trent? I ask, breaking the silence. I reach over to the dry stone ledge beside the hot tub and pick up my secondary work tablet. I open my secure email outbox. The draft I prepared earlier today is sitting there perfectly formatted and fully loaded with every single piece of digital ammunition I compiled over the past week. I have the recipient fields already populated. Trent's personal email address is in the primary line. In the carbon copy line, I have entered the corporate email addresses of his father and his mother. Finding the contact information for the patriarch of a massive real estate dynasty was incredibly easy for a businesswoman who knows how to navigate corporate registries. I look back at the phone screen. I am sending you an email right now, Trent. I say, my finger hovering directly over the trackpad. I have also copied your parents on this correspondence, so there is absolute transparency regarding their financial investment. I tap the send button. The email flies through cyberspace, an invisible missile locked directly on their suburban mansion. Check your inbox, Trent, I command. Check it right this second. I watch the screen as Trent pulls the phone slightly away from his face. His eyes dart down to the notification banner dropping across the top of his screen. I watch his thumb tap the notification opening the email. The camera angle shifts, pointing up at his chin and the ceiling, but I can still see the exact moment the reality of the situation completely destroys him. He opens the first attachment. It is the screenshot of Jada's text message, explicitly demanding I bleach the basement floor and keep the toddlers absolutely quiet so she can secure her investment. He swipes to the next image. It is Vivian's text message, ordering me to use the side servant entrance and bring my own plastic folding chair. No, Trent whispers, his voice entirely devoid of breath. His voice. He opens the third attachment. It is the comprehensive financial breakdown of Jada's failing limited liability company, matching the exact $20,000 deficit she was desperate to cover. And finally, he opens the audio transcript and the summary of the conversation I overheard on their patio. The exact quotes where Jada brags about securing the funds from his father and laughing about exploiting my unpaid labor. I watch the blood drain completely out of Trent's face, leaving his skin a sickly grayish white. His hands begin to shake violently. The phone camera trembles, capturing the absolute ruin of his marriage in real time. Suddenly, a massive booming voice echoes from the background of the living room. It is Trent's father. He is holding his own smartphone, staring at the screen with an expression of pure, unadulterated, aristocratic fury. Trent, the older man, roars, his voice slicing through the chaotic noise of the crying toddlers and the murmuring guests. What is the meaning of this email? Did your wife embezzle $20,000 from our family trust to fund this pathetic charade? Trent slowly lowers the phone, lowering the camera angle until it captures Jada backing away toward the hallway, shaking her head in sheer terror. Vivian attempts to step between Trent and Jada, raising her hands in a placating gesture, but Trent violently swats her hands away. "Do not touch me," Trent snarls, stepping toward his wife. "You stole from my parents. You lied to my face for weeks. You turned my home into a circus, and you tried to treat your own sister like a slave to cover your tracks." "Trent, I can explain," Jada cries, her voice breaking into a hysterical screech. "We just needed a little help. The brand is going to turn a profit next quarter, I promise. We were going to pay them back." "It is over, Jada," Trent says, his voice echoing with absolute freezing finality. "I am calling my lawyers in the morning. I want you out of this house." He drops the phone. It clatters against the glass surface of the coffee table, landing propped up against a silver centerpiece. The camera angle is perfectly positioned, giving me a wide cinematic view of the absolute destruction I orchestrated. I watch as Trent's wealthy parents storm toward the front door, signaling for the rest of the elite investors to follow them. I watch the VIP guests grabbing their designer coats, throwing disgusted glances at Jada and Vivian as they step out into the freezing rain to retrieve their own vehicles. I watch my sister collapse onto the floor, sobbing uncontrollably, as her marriage, her business, and her social standing evaporate into thin air. I watch my mother standing frozen amidst the wreckage of the winter wonderland aesthetic, completely powerless to stop the collapse of the illusion she values above her own daughter's humanity. I reach forward and tap the microphone icon on my screen, unmuting myself for one final sign-off. "Merry Christmas, Jada," I say, my voice ringing crystal clear through the speaker on her coffee table. "And Vivian, you were right about one thing. Family really does not charge family, but betrayal costs everything." I tap the red button ending the call. I toss the phone onto the dry towel, lean back into the steaming water of the hot tub, and look up at the Colorado stars. The night is perfectly quiet, and I have never felt so completely at peace. I wake up on the morning of December 26th feeling completely revitalized. The Colorado sun is bright, and the high thread count sheets feel like a physical manifestation of my newly claimed freedom. I order a premium room service breakfast consisting of smoked salmon, avocado toast, and a freshly pressed green juice. Only after I finish eating do I finally pick up my phone to survey the wreckage I left behind in Georgia. The digital aftermath is absolute carnage. The family group chat is a graveyard of deleted messages and frantic backpedaling, but the real story is playing out across my professional network and local social media. I open a text thread from Marcus, the owner of the premier mixology agency I pulled my bartenders from. He is deeply embedded in the Buckhead social scene, and his messages confirm everything I orchestrated. He tells me that the exodus from Jadis Mansion was the most spectacular high society disaster Atlanta has seen in a decade. The wealthy investors did not just leave hungry, they left profoundly insulted. Trent's old money. Connecticut parents marched straight out the front door, refusing to even look at Vivian or Jada. They immediately called their wealth management team from the back of their luxury sedan and officially severed all financial ties to Jada's lifestyle brand. The $20,000 they initially wired was flagged for fraud, and a massive chargeback was initiated before midnight. Jada's business is completely dead. Without that capital injection, her failing limited liability company cannot cover its existing overhead. She is officially bankrupt. But the financial ruin is only half the punishment. The social execution is absolute. Marcus details exactly how the VIP guests reacted. The 15 unsupervised toddlers completely trashed the pristine winter wonderland aesthetic. A prominent local real estate developer slipped on a puddle of spilled apple juice in the grand foyer, ruining his custom-tailored suit. The wife of a major tech chief executive officer had her vintage silk gown destroyed by a child wiping chocolate frosting directly onto her leg. Because there was no elite childcare staff, the parents were forced to chase their own screaming children through a house that smelled like cheap cleaning chemicals in panic. Because there was no valet service, the furious guests were forced to trudge through the freezing rain in their expensive formal wear to retrieve their own cars. They stood on the wet suburban street, openly mocking Jada and Vivian. Word travels incredibly fast in elite circles. By this morning, Vivian is a complete social pariah. The wealthy country club women she spent her entire life trying to impress have already started icing her out of their inner circles. She built her entire identity on being perceived as a sophisticated matriarch, but now she is universally known as the desperate woman who tried to lock her own daughter in a concrete basement to cover up a petty financial scam. I open my voicemail inbox. There are 20 new messages, but I only listened to the first few seconds of the one from Trent. He sounds exhausted, completely drained of his arrogant bravado. He states formally that he has retained a high-powered divorce attorney and that Jada spent the night at a cheap local motel because he refused to let her stay in the house. He actually apologizes to me, acknowledging that I was the only person telling the absolute truth. I delete the voicemail halfway through. I do not need his apology. I only needed his awareness. I walk out onto my private terrace, breathing in the crisp mountain air. The absolute precision of my trap worked flawlessly because it relied entirely on their own toxic traits. If they had simply respected me as a professional, none of this would have happened. If they had asked for my help honestly and treated me like a human being, I might have given them a family discount. But their profound entitlement blinded them to the reality of who they were dealing with. They looked at a 35-year-old self-made African-American businesswoman, an executive chef who built a $2 million luxury company from the ground up, and they saw a servant. They saw someone they could exploit, disrespect, and discard. They believed that because I am single and childless, my time and my labor were entirely theirs to consume. I simply held up a mirror and forced them to look at their own reflection while standing in front of the very people they worshipped. I pack my bags with a steady hand. My time in Aspen is done. I delivered a masterpiece culinary experience to the Sterling family, and I executed a flawless corporate dismantling of my toxic relatives. I am returning to Atlanta, not as the family's scapegoat, but as an untouchable force. I zip my custom leather knife roll and smile. The house of cards has completely collapsed exactly as I planned, and I do not feel a single ounce of remorse. The consequences of their actions have finally caught up to them, and the silence that follows the destruction is the most beautiful music I have ever heard. I touched down at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport the next morning. The flight from Aspen was completely flawless, a quiet and luxurious journey that matched the absolute tranquility in my mind. I step off the private charter bypass the chaotic holiday terminals and slide into the back of my prearranged executive car service. The plush leather seats wrap around me as the driver merges onto the highway heading toward the city. For the past 12 hours, my phone has been locked in a strict do not disturb mode. I intentionally created a digital blackout to ensure my peace was not interrupted by the frantic flailing of a sinking ship. But now, safely back in Atlanta and miles away from their toxicity, I am ready to finalize the severance. I pull my phone from my designer handbag and disable the block. The screen immediately lights up, vibrating with the sheer force of a small earthquake. The notifications flood the display in a rapid, relentless stream. 52 missed calls, 28 voicemails, a massive scrolling wall of green text bubbles. I open my voicemail inbox and tap the most recent message from Vivian. I do not hold the phone to my ear. I put it on speaker, letting her voice fill the quiet interior of the luxury car. "Zuri, pick up the phone right this second," Vivian screams. Her voice is shaking violently, but it is not shaking with genuine remorse or maternal concern. It is shaking with the sheer, unadulterated humiliation of a narcissist whose mask has been completely ripped off in public. "You have completely destroyed this family. Do you have any idea what you have done? The women at the Buckhead Country Club will not even return my calls today. Trent's parents are pressing charges against Jada. How could you be so incredibly vindictive? We are your blood. You threw your own mother and sister to the wolves over a catering bill. You are cold and you are heartless." I delete the voicemail halfway through her hysterical sobbing. I do not feel a single twinge of guilt. I tap open my text messages and navigate to the thread from Jada. Jada has sent a massive wall of text, a frantic stream of consciousness completely devoid of accountability. "I am sitting in a cheap motel room off the highway, Zuri," she types. "Trent changed the locks on the house last night. His father's corporate lawyers called me at 6 in the morning. They are freezing my business accounts. I'm losing absolutely everything. I just needed a little help. I was going to pay you back eventually. Why could you not just play along for one single night? You ruined my marriage because you have always been jealous of me." I lock the screen and look out the tinted window of the car. The delusion is almost scientifically fascinating. They are staring at the smoking crater of their own lives, holding the matches and the gasoline, and actively blaming the building for catching fire. Jada committed felony wire fraud, and Vivian aided and abetted it while trying to lock a 35-year-old executive chef in a concrete basement. Yet, in their twisted alternate reality, I am the villain for simply refusing to participate in my own exploitation. They still do not get it. They still truly believe this is about a catering bill and not the fact that they tried to strip me of my humanity. I do not type a long emotional paragraph defending my character. I do not list my accomplishments or explain my worth to women who are committed to misunderstanding me. Explanations require an emotional investment that I no longer possess. I open the family group chat one final time. My thumbs move across the keyboard with absolute surgical precision. "I did not ruin your marriage. Jada and I did not ruin your social standing, Vivian," I type. "Your own profound greed and staggering entitlement did that for you. You destroyed this family the moment you viewed my existence as free labor and an embarrassment to hide. You wanted a servant you could lock in the dark while you stole $20,000. Now you get to live in the light with the exact consequences of your actions. Do not ever contact me again." I press send. I watch the little delivered notification pop up under the text bubble. Then I begin the digital execution. I tap Jada's contact profile. I hit block caller. I tap Vivian's profile. I hit block caller. I open my social media accounts. I unfollow them. I unfriend them. I block their profiles entirely. I block Trent. I block the extended aunts and uncles who have always served as my mother's flying monkeys ready to deploy guilt trips on her behalf. I systematically and ruthlessly purge every single digital tie to their toxic existence. The second the final block is confirmed, a profound physical lightness washes over my entire body. It feels as if a heavy rusted anchor I have been dragging behind me for 3.5 decades has finally been detached. My phone is completely silent. There will be no more demanding texts. There will be no more passive-aggressive insults masked as maternal advice. There will be no more urgent family meetings designed solely to extract my resources. Driver, I say, my voice ringing clear and steady through the quiet car. Please reroute. I do not want to go home just yet. Take me to my commercial kitchen. We pull up to the massive brick building that houses my catering empire. I step out of the car and unlock the heavy glass front doors of my business. The interior is spotlessly clean and perfectly quiet. The stainless steel prep stations shine under the overhead lights. The massive walk-in refrigerators are humming with steady, reliable energy. I stand in the center of my kitchen, breathing in the clean scent of industrial sanitizer and fresh possibilities. This is my domain. This is the life I built with my own 2 hands, my own sweat, and my own unapologetic brilliance. I do not need to shrink myself to make other people comfortable. I do not need to hide my loud, assertive personality because it is exactly what makes me a phenomenal chief executive officer. The toxic chapter of my life is officially closed. I have drawn an ironclad boundary around my peace, and I am completely, utterly free. 6 months later, the oppressive heat of the Atlanta summer is beating down on the pavement, but inside my brand new secondary commercial kitchen, the air conditioning is humming perfectly. I stand at the front of the massive stainless steel room, holding a pair of oversized ceremonial scissors. Today is the grand opening of my second luxury catering headquarters. The fallout from that fateful Christmas day was spectacular and absolute. Jada is officially bankrupt. After Trent's wealthy parents pulled their funding, her lifestyle brand completely collapsed under the weight of its own massive deficits. Trent filed for divorce by New Year's Eve, citing financial fraud and extreme emotional distress. He kept the suburban mansion, and Jada was forced to move into a tiny, cramped apartment on the outskirts of the city. She has 0 investors, 0 social capital, and 0 staff to abuse. Vivian's fate was equally devastating. The elite women of the Buckhead Country Club iced her out completely. In their world, there is no sin greater than public embarrassment and social fraud. Her name was quietly removed from every charity gala committee and every high society mailing list. She spent her entire life desperately clawing her way up the social ladder, only to be thrown off the very top rung by the exact people she worshipped. She has tried to reach out to me through blocked numbers and fake social media accounts, but my digital perimeter remains completely impenetrable. I simply hit delete and go back to running my empire. I look around the room at the crowd gathered to celebrate my grand opening. There are no toxic blood relatives here. Instead, I am surrounded by my chosen family. Malik, my incredibly loyal sous chef, has just been promoted to chef de cuisine of this new location. My dedicated prep cooks, my event coordinators, and even a few of my top-tier clients like Mr. Sterling, who flew in from Colorado specifically for this event, are all raising a glass of premium champagne in my honor. They do not look at me and see a scapegoat or a servant. They look at me and see a trailblazer. I cut the thick red ribbon, and the room erupts into genuine, enthusiastic applause. I hand the scissors to Malik and step back, leaning against the cool marble of my new expo counter. I watch my team immediately spring into action, moving with that beautiful, chaotic rhythm I love so much. The searing of meat, the sharp calls of order up, and the clinking of crystal glasses fill the air. I take a slow, deep breath, letting the absolute certainty of my own power settle into my bones. For 35 years, I broke my back trying to earn a seat at a table that was built to exclude me. I finally realized I never needed their permission to sit down. I just needed to build my own table. And my table is magnificent. The most profound lesson from Zuri's journey is that biological ties do not excuse toxic behavior or financial exploitation. For years, her family weaponized the concept of family duty to diminish her accomplishments and demand free labor. However, Zuri's story powerfully illustrates that your worth is not defined by those who are committed to misunderstanding you. True empowerment comes from recognizing your own value and establishing ironclad boundaries. You do not have to shrink yourself to fit at a table built to exclude you. Instead, you have every right to walk away and build your own magnificent table. Have you ever had to cut ties with a toxic environment to protect your peace? Share your experience in the comments below, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe